Okay, I think now is like probably like a pretty good time to start. To Nikki saying I'm tuning in purely because I have many opinions. That's like pretty much exactly what I'm looking for. I did make this list of titles myself. There are some tier lists that you can find um, on the website that have like what's the word? Oh, webcam mic. Good point. Is it better now? Hello? Um, yeah, hopefully it sounds better now. Just let me know before I continue, because I unfortunately had to reformat my PC. Yeah, okay, good. It's better. Is it too loud? Looks like it's clipping a little bit. Only left ear. Okay. I might need to make it mono, because it's just kind of like dumb. I know I fixed this before. I'm just trying to clipping a tiny bit. Okay, I'll turn it down just a little bit. Why can I not? Oh, there's a hiss too? Really? I feel like there shouldn't be. Okay, I'm gonna just turn down a bit more. So hopefully it's still like fairly loud. I'm trying to. It probably is two mics. Because, okay, I just want to. Okay, now let me tell you. Is it better now? Because it should be better now. I think it was probably picking up my camera mic before. So good call on the mic thing. Hopefully that's a lot better. Um, but yeah, like you shouldn't be able to hear my mouse click that well. It's like a dynamic microphone. Still need it to be mono. Okay. All right, is that better? Is that better? Um, should be better, but like we'll see. Okay. Okay. Ideally, that is like significantly better, and we we all notice a huge improvement. So yeah. Okay. Trying to think of like where specifically I'm supposed to sound. So click is like the mouse click, like this, like, or is it like there's some other kind of issue? Yeah. Okay. Well, for the most part, the mouse shouldn't be clicking too much. So yeah. So I made the list of titles. Just because a lot of the lists like don't include a lot of titles that I think are relevant. Like good examples would be like Spy Family, Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm trying to think of other ones, just ones that are like doing well now, but like aren't kind of like these older, kind of established titles. So yeah, so that's why I made the list myself. If people want to check out the list, they can do this. In terms of what I think, just with any tier list, you always want to talk about like the system you're evaluating it by. So like, of course, this is my opinion. It's not some like objective list that I think is like there's nothing like it's based on like my enjoyment of things. Some of these titles I have not finished. Like an example would be like I'm 200 chapters into Slam Dunk. I think that's enough to review the series. Some of them I will have read, but will say I have not read purely because I haven't read enough. So like as an example of that might be like Siren. Like I've read the first volume. Anyway, so subjective list, haven't read everything. I put some titles in purely just to be like, I've not read this. Maybe I'll read this one day. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's like super relevant. Some things are like little collections, like like this is like a Tomie story that's like all the Tomie stories. If I pronounce anything wrong, I apologize. So we might as well get started. It is also in alphabetical order. So we're gonna have like all the different titles as I rank them. So we start off like incredibly strong. Also like there are titles I have read that are not on the on this list, but like maybe they just didn't stand out to me. I don't think other people are curious about them either. So let's start with 20th Century Boys. This is easiest S. To me, S is something where it's like basically like almost perfect. Like which is of course not what I actually think about 20th Century Boys. I don't think it's literally perfect. But if you are not familiar with this series, it's probably written by my favorite mangaka kind of ever. This is the author who has done 20th Century Boys, Monster, Asadora, Pluto, a bunch of stuff. It's just an amazing story. It's one of those stories that you would probably be better off knowing less about going into it rather than more. All I would say is it's one of those stories that you read and you just keep wanting to turn the page. You just kind of can't put it down. Pun Pun is here. We'll figure out. We'll get to Pun Pun eventually. But yeah, so 20th Century Boys, just an amazing series. I think it's fantastic. I literally like read the whole thing in like a couple days, and it's like 24 volumes long. It's like behind me actually, right here. So great series. Only criticism I would have is the ending. I think it's not as good as the rest of the series. This is Akame ga Kill, I think it's called. Let's just put unsure. I feel like when I say I don't want to read, it's more just like I don't really have any thoughts on it. So haven't read that. This is a newer series, so we're skipping over that. Akane Banashi, I believe this is called. So far, this is a series that only has about 5 volumes worth of content. It has just come out. There is not even a volume published in English yet, although they are digitally published on the Shonen Jump app, and that is what I've read up to. It's fantastic. If there's a recommendation I can give that is like at kind of this point, like there's like a new one that's kind of like you haven't checked out. It's this series. It's about Rakugo, which is like kind of a certain form of Japanese entertainment. I'm not gonna pretend to be an expert on it. It follows a lot of the like shonen formulas, so it's not like anything super different. But like I really like it. I think it's fantastic. The only reason I'm like hesitant to put it like higher than A is purely because like there's only about 5 volumes out. It could easily like in a year or two be higher or lower, and like usually I feel like it's harder to continue to be good. But like just straight up, this series is fantastic. Please check it out if you haven't already. I just by chance like read it in the Shonen Jump app. I just saw it, thought it looks pretty good, checked it out. It was amazing. Definitely, it's great. I love it. So, Akira. This is a series I have not finished. This is one of the ones I kind of wish I did before this, but I was feeling kind of sick today, and I've been planning to do this stream for a while, just because I've been reading like a crap ton of manga. So, like, I literally have like the books here. My father-in-law lent them to me. So far, I think it's very solid. I'm about halfway through, a little more than halfway through. I'm on the 4th volume. So I think it's pretty good. I'd probably put it in like A. It's only half the series, but the volumes themselves are like reasonably big. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. I feel comfortable enough to review it, but obviously I'd like to finish it. And this is one of the few ones that I will review without having finished. Unless, of course, and I'll talk about this a bit later, especially when I get to Berserk. But there's some series where, like, if someone says it's amazing, even if I don't really enjoy it, I try to finish it or try to get fairly far into it. Not saying I didn't enjoy Berserk, but I'll explain it a bit later. Okay, Alice in Borderland. I have heard that it's good. It's like a, what's the word? Like one of those death game kind of series. Seems cool. All You Need Is Kill. This is by the artist who did Death Note. It is also the inspiration for the movie. What's it called? The one with Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt, I believe. I'm sure someone in the chat will know. It's pretty good. I'd say it's just like a solid one shot. It's like 2 volumes, so I don't know if that still qualifies as a one shot. It's a very solid series. It's about a guy who like is stuck in this like loop of dying. And yeah, Edge of Tomorrow. That's what it's called. Yeah. Thank you, chat. So very solid series. If you want something that's like a quick read, you'll pick up. It's nothing special, and I actually think the movie is better. Asadora. This is another newer series that I really wanted to have on this list. It's by the same guy that did 20th Century Boys. It's amazing as well. I would honestly give it like an A+ right now. I think it's like very, very good. Just like really fun. Just really fun to read. It is not finished yet. It's only just started. There's about 5 volumes. The 6th volume is coming out very soon. It has like the 20th Century Boys vibes where like you just finish the volume and you're like, what is happening? Like I want to read the next. I really love the characters. It's nice to see some female representation in the characters kind of in his stories. Not that he doesn't have female representation in his stories, but the lead being a young girl who kind of like grows up is quite good. Just a very, very solid series. Assassination Classroom. This is one that's like, I don't like the crop on this. Sorry if there's like a little black border on them. Assassination Classroom, I honestly think, I wonder if I should have like a C. I might do like a C+ category, just because I think there is some nuance there. Or maybe I'll do, yeah, let's do C+. I don't know if I want a B-. This is like a weird thing. I think it is honestly C+. I know some people are like a huge fan of Assassination Classroom. I personally think it's like just okay. If you're not familiar with the plot, it's basically like about this teacher who's like kind of a supernatural, otherworldly figure. Supernatural is maybe not the right word, but and he basically is teaching the class like how to assassinate him. I personally found it is kind of boring. I got about 90 chapters in, which is usually it's like 7 to 8 chapters is a volume. So like I got pretty far in. I was about halfway through the series, maybe a bit more than that. And like it's nice. It's kind of like wholesome. It's a lot like thematically it explores a lot of themes about like kids who are sort of left behind and how, you know, like if you just kind of give them the same tender love and care that good students receive, they can like really shine and show off their skills. So it's a nice message, but it's just kind of boring. Like I just didn't really love it. Attack on Titan manga. I've read like a good chunk of the manga. I think this is one that like feels kind of firmly in B. I'm more familiar with the anime, even though I have read the manga, purely just because. Oh, fuck! I don't have any water. Okay, one second. I'm just gonna really quickly grab water. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, okay. Attack on Titan. I'm more. Okay. Yeah. To Justin saying it's good about good thing about Assassination Classroom is it's consistent throughout. Doesn't overstay its welcome. Completely agree with that concept. Attack on Titan. I think. Like if you look at my anime list, which we'll do anime another day if people actually enjoy this, and I'd love to hear what people think because obviously this isn't the content I usually do. I just think the beginning of this series is like super freaking good, and then it just kind of like sort of gets a little convoluted, a little bit off the rails. Not really my kind of thing. Yeah, like not too much to say without spoiling it. It just like some of the kind of build up moments I didn't feel like were paid off super well, and it's kind of like a weird all over the place story at times. What point would I say it switches, like where it starts to go downhill? I mean, in terms of the anime, it's around like season 3-ish, kind of halfway through season 2. But yeah, Azumanga Daioh, I really like Yotsuba, spoiler, but I have not read this. My wife liked it, but she said it's like not aged well, so I'll check that out. At the moment, I have not watched it, but it's obviously very popular. Bakuman, I actually just bought the box set. It's like over there. Bakuman is a manga about manga. It is also by the author duo. The mangaka are the same people as the guys who did Death Note. So same sort of artist-writer combo. And it really is almost a meta story about them writing Death Note in many ways. It is a very classic kind of shonen formula story where you basically learn like about manga. I'm curious to see what Koopa Troopa says. Bakuman has some opinions. I think a very valid criticism of Bakuman is that it is fairly sexist. I think this is also true with Death Note, and just like unfortunately the authors, they just definitely have like. So I'm curious if that's what you're referring to. I think it's a pretty good series. Unfortunately, again, like obviously there's some limitations to it. I think it's like it is if you like the shonen formula, which is like person gets stronger effectively. In this case, getting stronger is being kind of like better at manga, then you'll probably like it. I personally thought it was interesting because it's kind of like a sneak peek into the manga industry. I would give it a B+. I bought the box set, so like basically anything I own is something I would choose to reread. That's kind of my metric for buying a manga is like, you know, or anything I buy and keep. So it's good. Next up, we have Beck. Oops, Berserk. Beck is missing somehow. So for some reason, I don't have Beck in the slideshow. Not really sure why that's the case, but Beck is another shonen manga. Same formula, but it's like with a band. I think I'd also give it a B+. It's a pretty solid series. Yeah, like not too much to say here. Like it's just sort of like it's about a band. Some things that people might say about Beck is like, why would you want to read a manga that's about music? I mean, you can kind of just imagine. No, tiers are not ordered. At least not right now. I might order S at the end, but they're kind of like I'm just putting them in kind of randomly. Like it's not like Bakuman is better than Beck or Kane Banashi is better than Akira. But Beck is fun. One really big downside of it is that it is not fully published in English. They kind of dropped the publication halfway through. Okay, Berserk. This is a big one. This is one that I have like a lot to talk about. Whoa, that's not what I meant to do. So, what are my thoughts on Berserk? Well, I think kind of like spoiler, it's probably in like an A- for me. But there's some nuance here. I used to not like, no, not C. I used to not like Berserk, and the reason I didn't like Berserk is because I really did not like the first 3 volumes. And I think where this series struggles is like the first 3 volumes to me, Guts is just like really edgy and really angry and like a very unlikable protagonist. And of course, I know some readers look at that and go like, yeah, like that made me want to learn his backstory. But for me, I was just like, dude, like, come on. Like he's like pushing old men down the stairs kind of guy. And I was just like, what is this? Like everyone says it's so good. I want to give it a chance. But like the first 3 volumes, I just was like, I don't even know. This isn't very good. Kept reading a bit. And like, I think I stopped around like kind of like around halfway through the 4th volume. So then I was like, grew older and I was like, you know what? I'll like give this another chance. When I say I read it for the first time, it's Beck, Mongolian Chop Squad is the manga besides Bakuman. So I read it again recently and I found that Berserk was like really improves after that point. It does deal with like a lot of like kind of harsh subject matter, but eventually like you kind of cover some really interesting stuff and you kind of get a better idea of like what kind of story they're actually trying to tell. And it's a pretty good one. Unfortunately, I'm only like 12 volumes in. This is a series that I think, like as a general value statement, I kind of prefer reading official translations of stuff. So even though I'd like to read more Berserk, my friend is collecting the deluxe volumes and he's ordered a couple more and I'm just like waiting to read those to borrow them from him because like everyone says it's so great. I don't want to read the later volumes without like and get kind of just like a shittier translation, which is unfortunately what I did with Slam Dunk. Official translations can be kind of off, but I feel like unofficial translations like scanlations, which of course is a very nice thing that people do often out of the goodness of their heart. So I don't want to criticize scanlations too much, but like sometimes scanlations are just terrible. So I think Berserk as of volume 12 is an A- for me. One thing I don't love about it is like I just find the story is like kind of like really, really dark and bleak at times. And like I'll see as I get past that if it kind of stays there, but A- feels appropriate, especially because like the first 3 volumes I would give like a D. Like I just hated them. I just like it stopped me from reading it the first time. Okay, Black Butler. I've heard it's pretty good. My wife has read it. Not too much to say here. Have not yet read it. Yeah, here see people saying, bro, just wait. Like, it might be a lot better. I'm totally willing to believe that. Like, again, that is with the asterisk that I've only read 12 volumes. The vast majority of these, I have either read the full series or like a big chunk. Black Clover. I'm going to say D. Okay, so this is one that I have not read that much. I probably did. There are some manhwa, not a lot. I haven't read that many. So like there's like Solo Leveling in here. And there's some that like I haven't read that I'd like to read. I thought Black Clover was like, okay. So recently I reread all of Naruto, and that's got some fucking problems. But Black Clover is just to me like a much worse version of Naruto. I find Asta, I guess the protagonist, is like super, super annoying. The setting is very generic. I will say I have heard it gets a lot better, but I read about like 5 or 6 volumes. And I was just like, I do not like this. I found it incredibly boring and incredibly generic. If you like this, again, I've heard that it gets a lot better. I think I mean this in a very non-condescending, genuine way, that I think this manga is something that younger people would enjoy more. Because I reread Naruto, and I also read Naruto when it was coming out. And when I was younger, when I was like 12, I was like, yo, Naruto is fire. And now I'm like, yo, there's some really dumb things in Naruto, even though Naruto is fun. So yeah, I think Black Clover, probably the same. It's not really made for me. And actually, I didn't mention this, but like, it's really important when you're evaluating stuff. Like, this is a thing that like, I could call out someone like Leffen or something as an example. I think when some people evaluate things, they mistake their own personal taste as like an objective measure of whether something is good, when in reality, some things are just very clearly not made for you. So like a good example is like, I just generally am not partial to a lot of shoujo stories. And that does not mean that shoujo stories are objectively bad, or that like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it means very little. Like, it's like, I'm not going to go out here and be like, oh, I didn't like some like very popular series, and my only reason is like, I just didn't really like it. Like, there was nothing I could actually speak to that was like bad about the writing or something. It just like didn't vibe with me. And then I hear everyone else likes it. That doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means I didn't like it. So for some things like that, like I won't even review them. Blame, I've heard is good. Have not read. Well, this is the thing. So people like will hate on shoujo, and I think like, you know, like people who hate on shoujo are often men. And I think it's like, you know, I like a lot of shonen series, and my wife does not like a lot of shonen series. And a lot of shonen series are very, very similar. And I kind of think like, you know, like that's fine. Like there's no, like, she's not right and I'm not right. There's just like some things are made for certain demographics. And it's not as simple as like things made for like women or men, and therefore only men and women can like them. But like, but there are shoujo works that I like, and there are shonen works that I like. But just because I like some shoujo stuff doesn't mean like that's like the only good shoujo. I just think it's just not really a genre that's made for me. So Bleach, got a lot of stuff to talk about Bleach. I mean, honestly, like I probably should be doing this, and I probably will do that just because I watched all the Bleach anime. I've probably read like 7 volumes of Bleach. I think for the most part, the anime is just a better version of Bleach. Both of them have not so great pacing. Both of them are incredibly hype at times. Both of them kind of decline after the very first arc, or like the Soul Society arc. I think Bleach is just like very, very hype, very classic shonen. There's some like really good moments. Of course, like Bankai's, you know, in the anime especially, you're like, damn. If I were to rate the manga, I would probably put it somewhere in like a B, C+. It's good. It just like goes on way, way too long. Is like kind of a convoluted mess at times, but it has high highs and like really, truly low lows. Blue Exorcist. I don't know. I actually don't know that much about this series, so if people have recommendations. Bleach's aesthetic is really strong, is a good way to put it. Like, Bleach's character designs are beautiful. I like the kind of fashion in Bleach. I think like again, some of my favorite anime moments, especially growing up, are like, yo, like that, you know, Zenbon Sakura Bankai like was so cool. So Blue Period, I've heard this is really good. I'd like to read it. Not too much to say here. Boruto, I didn't enjoy it. I like read a bit of it. Not my kind of thing. There's not much to say here. Like, I can say more if chat wants me to. I just didn't find it very interesting. I felt like the last chunk of Naruto was not that interesting either. Cardcaptor. This is a series I think I would probably put like in B. I think I'm like kind of like nostalgia bias here, but I also think it's like pretty, like this is a really good example of a story that like for an adult, not that fun, but for a kid, like amazing, like really, really fun as a kid. A very, very simple story. It's very like, you know, collect all the Infinity Stones kind of vibe. It's nice. I liked it. I thought it was fun. Not too much to say beyond that. I don't think if you're an adult, if you haven't read it or you weren't like reading it as a kid, it would be worth reading. But I genuinely enjoyed the reread. But I am kind of nostalgia biased. But it's like the kind of the goat of the magical girl genre. Chainsaw Man. Okay, again, we're missing some stuff. I think there's some issue with like how I uploaded the images and like what stuff worked. But let's do Case Closed first. So this is another series I have not finished. But in the case of Case Closed, that's not the most controversial thing because it's like 90 volumes or something. I've read about 30 volumes, so that's like 3 Chainsaw Mans practically. I think it's a lot of fun. It's very episodic. There's not a lot beyond just, hey, you like mystery, you like kind of a case of volume kind of pacing, that's Case Closed. If there's a criticism of it, I think they should have abandoned the whole like he's a tiny guy, he's a kid thing at a certain point. Like a big thing that holds it back is it tries to have like an episodic structure as well as like an overarching plot, and that overarching plot is like not that great. Like it just keeps getting delayed. But like this is like your mystery of the week, very kind of run of the mill series, but the mysteries are great. Yeah, I agree. Like the premise does not need to be held onto the way it has been held onto, in my opinion. So I wonder if I can just do that, and that might not crop things too much. It kind of does a little bit, So yeah, next up is Chainsaw Man. This is another one that wasn't in the original tier list. This is just coming out. I watched the first episode of the anime. It was super good. Despite that, I would probably put Chainsaw Man in B, which is, I know, a controversial thing. I just didn't feel like... Okay, so like there's some really cool stuff. I think there's some really good art. That like astronaut scene kind of thing was like super amazing. I think like there's certain panels that stand out very vividly in my mind with Chainsaw Man. At the same time, I just personally didn't find the protagonist as like engaging as a lot of other people did. This is honestly one of those ones where like I hear that people love this series. I've read the whole thing, like at least all 11 volumes. I suspect it'll be a much better anime, but I wasn't like blown away by it. There were some cool twists and turns. It was worth reading. I don't really understand the hype, having read the whole series. Chobits. I've not read it yet. I've heard it's good. Claymore. This is a series I would probably give an A- to. It's not the most popular. I own the box set. I think it's like a really fun shonen series. It's another one of those series like kind of Bakuman where like it doesn't do anything too crazy. Like it has some female protagonists, which is different. It has an interesting story. One of the things I really value in a manga that I think this applies to, and I heard some chatters talking about this earlier, is it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's just kind of like 23 or 26 volumes or something like that. It's nothing too long. Maybe it's like 27. I can look it up really quickly. But like it's just one of those things like it just it's fairly short. 27 volumes. So like reasonably long, not too long. It's a fun series. At its peak, like the ending is good, but like right before the ending, it kind of gets a little boring. But honestly, like if you haven't checked it out, I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty fun. It might be in this B+ tier, actually. Like, Berserk definitely tells a more sophisticated story. I feel like I also might move this down. Again, this is my personal enjoyment. It's not like some objective list of like what people should like. Just you wait for Berserk. Honestly, I totally like. I think of anything here, because people say it's so good, I want to give which one is the slow start, Berserk or Claymore? Next up is D Gray Man. I liked this well enough as a kid. As a kid, I would have put this in B. I reread this and thought it was terrible. I thought like it was so boring. Just like very, very generic. I know a lot of people love this, and if you're one of those people, you know, I'm sorry. I like did not like this at all. I thought, I don't know, just like it's one of those series that like to me it falls into like the trap of a lot of just stories generally, which is like way too much like exposition all at once. Like it'll be like, we fight Akuma, and we have this system, and there are these guys, and everyone has this kind of power, and there's 13 of this, and blah, blah, blah. It'd be like, you know, like I don't even really remember it that well, even though I read like when I was younger, like 18 volumes, and I read about 5, and like reread it about 5, and was like, what the hell is this? I'm not rereading this anymore. But like to use a Bleach example, like it'd be like if in a single chapter they were like, there are 13 captains, and they have their lieutenants, and they have a bunch of other rankings, and their Civil Society, and you have your Bankai, and you have your, you know, whatever the sword is called, and you know, like blah blah, and you're just like, oh my god, dude, like just shut up, like about like it's all exposition all at once. people saying, "Oh, can't wait for Hunter x Hunter." I think Hunter x Hunter has a lot of like exposition, but it's done in a more tasteful way. So yeah, not a fan of D. Gray Man. Dead demons, destruction. Probably too many destruction. So this is the first Inio Asano series. It's the first of that author that I had read. I would probably put it in C+. So it's like, it is genuinely well written. The art is fucking crazy good, like really good. That is something consistent across all of his works. Very, very, very good art. And yet, it is just like a very depressing story. It is not like a super fun read. For people who don't know what it is, it's basically like, what if an alien invasion kind of was like how we had COVID, where like the aliens invade, feels like the world is ending, but yet like you just kind of keep going on with your ordinary life. You go to work, you like go to school, you kind of like think about your hopes and dreams. So it's kind of like that. And it honestly, because of that, it felt like a bit too close to home. Like it sort of is like, hey, like what if the government only cares about itself? Like what if like, war, like war is super, super bad. Society has like all these problems and like, doesn't like, becomes very tribal and exclusionary. It's like a pretty deep story, but at the end of the day, if we're talking like enjoyment, like I just didn't really like it. Like I think it's like really, really bleak. Like you read it and you just think like, wow, like the author does not have a very positive view on like what like we're able to do. There's also some like weird dynamics, like the girl is like kind of into her teacher. But again, really beautiful art. I don't think it's like poorly written at all. I do wonder if I should have a B+, but I already think there's too many categories here. And I think I really only want to have like this distinction because I think it's good to kind of break it down. All right, Dead Man Wonderland. I've heard this is good. I have not yet read it. I haven't heard anything too crazy. Death Note. So this is a series when I was younger. I would have given like A+. I would have been super, super into it. I reread it and like it's less like, okay, people always bring this up as a series that you could show to a non-anime fan as like an example of like the peaks of anime. And it certainly is like normie friendly, I guess, or peaks of anime or manga. But personally, like there are times where it feels a bit silly. There's definitely times like, I think most people would agree that at a certain point in the story, it starts to go a bit downhill around like a little over halfway. I'm not going to say exactly beyond that if you have not read it, but everyone who has read it, I think knows what I'm talking about. So it's good. I think some downsides for sure are the fact that like there are times where it just feels very like to make up a scenario. It'll be like, oh, you're going to eat the poison. Like, well, like, guess what? I actually poisoned your dish and swapped the dish. Like, oh, really? Well, that's funny because I knew that you were going to swap the dish. And so I actually swapped it back. Oh, really? Well, I actually replaced the poison the day before. And like, and it's like, oh my God, dude. Like, like at a certain point, this just becomes silly. Like it becomes not cool and next level and more just silly. That being said, it's still pretty freaking good at times. It's genuinely like very enjoyable. They are actually like smart characters. I think it is like a fun series. I think the art is great. I think it's like very iconic. It just like I would have put it in like say A+ or something before, and now I feel it's more like B+. It is worth owning. It is worth reading. It is a good series. I don't think it's like the GOAT. I don't think it's like one of the best series of all time. One of those series that a younger audience would probably enjoy it more. But there's some iconic moments. Might even belong in here, but I think I'm going to put it top of B+. Demon Slayer. Okay, this is one that might be a little bit controversial, but okay. It's hard to evaluate because Demon Slayer initially, and this is the part that has the anime right now, I think is incredibly simple, generic shonen. It's not that interesting. It's like, hey, here's a guy. He has a sword. He slays demons. Wow, we've never heard that before. And then after around like volume 6, it becomes very good. And even though it is very formulaic, I actually really enjoyed it. And one of the things that I think is very good about it is the pacing is very tight after around the first 5 or 6 volumes. It doesn't really slow down. It feels fun. It really understands like the scope of what it needs to do. Like one of the things that I don't like about, say, a series like Naruto or Bleach is that like those series really like to kind of run away with like they have no plan. There's nothing that's like going on. I feel like this introduces an antagonist. It introduces the goals of the series. We kind of follow a formula, and that's like we kind of stick to it, and it has like honestly a really good ending. I know like a lot of people might be like, yo, it's mid or whatever. I actually would go as high as like A- here. I think like from volume 7 on, I've reread it a couple times. It's short. It's like 23 volumes. It didn't overstay its welcome. It doesn't do anything, doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it does what it does well. And it is genuinely enjoyable. I like it. Calling the manga shallow, like I see that in chat, that's fair. Like, you know, it's not like this kind of like, whoa, this changed the game, man. Like, no, it's the same formula. I think like it does a decent job of improving some shonen flaws, which we'll talk about probably later on. But one of the things I think it does is like the power scaling is a little bit better. It's not just totally down to one character. I think it has good side characters for the most part. And after you get over that initial boring hump, which is where the anime, like season 1 is like that's the boring part I would talk about. Like really, it's when they fight the brother sister demons, where I think that was when it started to pick up for me, and I was like, hey, this is actually not so bad. The Hashira, I don't know if the pronunciation is right for that. Hashira probably is how it's pronounced. Were really cool. I liked them. I don't know. Like, it's fun. It's fun. I like see like people are saying uninteresting ending. I think it's like a good ending, but I don't know. Dorohedoro, I've read the first volume, but that's not enough to evaluate it, so I'm just gonna say want to read. I did not like the first volume, but I've heard it's good, so like, you know, that doesn't matter too much. Doubt, another series I like really want to read. I'm a big horror fan in terms of like other media, so you know, another one I've heard is really great. Dr. Slump. This is a hard one to evaluate because like it's a gag manga from like the 80s. It is Akira Toriyama's first work before Dragon Ball, or maybe not be his first work, but it was his first success. If you read it now, it feels a little dated. That being said, like I still think it's fine. There's some funny moments. I've read about like say like 6 or 7 volumes. It's not something I would recommend, but honestly, like in terms of enjoyment, I enjoy it more than some of the stuff below it. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend it to someone reading it now. It's only if you're a really big Akira Toriyama fan and want to read it. I think like at the time it was probably pretty good, but you know, like there's some jokes in Dragon Ball that I think are kind of off, and that it shares that. Anyway, Dr. Stone. I really like this series. I actually think this is A- for me. I will preface that because it's probably another like kind of controversial-ish opinion. It is like absolutely for children. It is like very low stakes all the time. The series is very simple, but you know, I like the learning that you can kind of get from it. It's sort of very fun. It's very formulaic, but I like the formula. I agree that Akira Toriyama's humor is aged poorly. It's very dated. But yeah, like Dr. Stone, it is written by the same guy who did iShield 21. I really love that. Spoiler alert. It has the same kind of characters. If you read iShield 21 and you like that series, I would definitely check out Dr. Stone. It's honestly a lot of fun. Again, another manga that doesn't overstay its welcome. I didn't love the ending, but I think like it's fun. The formula starts to get a little old, but the thing is like by the time it starts to get old, it's like ending pretty soon. So like by around sort of volume like 17, 18, I was starting to get a little bit bored. Guess what? It's like 24 volumes or something. So maybe even like 19. Like it, you know, then it started wrapping up and I was like, cool, we're done. You know, so Dragon Ball. Oh, I have Dragon Ball Super here first. Okay, Dragon Ball Super D. Okay, so bad. I own like literally right here is Dragon Ball Super. I own all the volumes that are currently published. It's trash. Okay, it is like Dragon Ball fan fiction written by the official author. It is not good. I still read it. It is so formulaic. It probably shouldn't exist, and yet I still read it. I have no defense for this. I would not put it in F. Like it's just like probably nothing will end up in F just because like most of these series are like we'll see. There might be some F, but yeah, like it's not good. It's not good. That being said, Dragon Ball, this might be a controversial opinion, no, is S for me. Okay, so hear me out because I know some people are gonna be like, it's generic. It's like the cliche shonen, this nostalgia bias. And also this is combining both Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Sorry, excuse me, not GT. Dragon Ball, the regular series is this is including Z. So this is like the Japanese view of Dragon Ball where it's all one series. Okay, Dragon Ball has some of the best action paneling ever. It still to this day is a manga that when I read it, I really like reading the way the fights are laid out. Some other manga get really complicated and like you read Dragon Ball, you read like say Naruto and you're like, what the hell is going on? Like what is this jutsu? Like what is this? Like what is even going on? Genuinely speaking, I like almost every arc except for the Boo arc, which is like the only last arc. I think it's a bit silly. And like, this is a series that unfortunately suffers a bit from like the classic shonen stuff, but I'm going to give it a bit of a pass because like A, he kept meaning to end the series and then was kind of forced to extend it. And B, it's like the kind of it's like the blueprint, right? It's like the formula. The other S tier is 20th Century Boys, for now at least. The Boo arc is only volumes, I think 19 to 26 or 20 to 26. So it's not that much for like a manga that's 16 volumes of Dragon Ball and 26 volumes of Z. That's not that much. So, 20th Century Boys is like amazing. No, I am positive. He was planning on ending it with Frieza for sure. I believe he was like thinking about ending it even earlier. And then he planned to end it with Cell and they were like, keep going. So that like, well, again, we're talking about Dragon Ball. That's not a fourth. Like, what is 26 plus? Like that's it's like 40 volumes and 5 are not so good. That's not a fourth of the series. No, like it's not a rumor. I don't really want to look like you can Google it yourself. Like he was planning for sure on ending it with Frieza, and they like that I know for a fact. Like I've seen that repeatedly. You guys can look it up yourselves. If I'm wrong, I'd love to be proven wrong. It reads that way. I feel like he kind of wanted Frieza to be like the ultimate baddie. And then the series didn't end. And he was like, okay, how do we deal with all the power scaling issues I introduced? Because he basically made Frieza so absurdly powerful. Like you go from like, say like a 20,000 power level to like a 5 million. And we're just supposed to all be like, that's okay. That's cool. That was not good. But yes, exactly. So then he wanted to end it with Cell. This is literally what I'm saying. So point is, despite all that, I think to me, every single arc is genuinely enjoyable. And then Boo is like 7 out of 10. So every other arc is really fun. I think the action paneling is really good. I think Dragon Ball is good. I think Dragon Ball Z is good. I think the Saiyan Sega is amazing. I think the Frieza Sega is amazing. I think Vegeta is an amazing character. All of this is to say the manga is fire. The anime, at least like the classic anime, I cannot watch. It is so slow. It feels like it's literally impossible to have the patience to watch it for me. So the manga, if you have only read the anime and you're looking at this and thinking this is bad, please read the manga. It is so much more fast-paced. The analogy I always use is the Super Saiyan transformation in the anime is takes 2 episodes or something insane, like an hour of your time almost. And it is 2 pages in the manga. So it's a great series. I love it. I have the color volumes as well. It really is not overrated to me. Drifting Classroom, I've heard this is a fantastic horror manga. Another one I really, really want to read. Erased. Saw the anime, liked the anime. I know the ending is not something people love, but I feel like the ending was something that... I completely agree, Justin, that my favorite thing about reading manga versus watching anime is that it's self-paced. Totally agree. Erased, I think is pretty good. I have not read the manga, but the anime I actually thought was like pretty fun. Ice Shield 21. It's definitely one of my favorites of all time. Yeah, so it's F, of course. This would be an A plus for me. Honestly, I really love it. I think it is like, this is one of the few ones where I couldn't find a good quality volume 1. So this is volume 21. This is if I had to pick a title for most underrated manga title, it would probably be this, because this was an incredibly popular manga. It was #1 in Japan for several weeks. It hit #1 in the magazine, and it just consistently did well. It sold tons and tons of volume, like one of the best selling series of all time. It is 37 volumes long. To catch up Lloyd Irving, I've only read 12 volumes of Berserk, so for now it is there. Also, these are not ordered. These are not ordered. I wish I could. I should just add like text right now. I'm just gonna say like tiers not ordered. Oops. Just because I don't want to have people get confused. We'll just leave it there for now. You missed the Demon Slayer blurb. The gist is basically, I think it does what it wants to do really, really well, and I liked it. I did not like the first 6 volumes, and then after that, I think it's like a lot of fun, and I genuinely like it. I know that some people call it like mid. I think the beginning is very, very, very kind of boring, but I'm not going to recap. If you want to watch it, you can watch the VOD of my opinions. Ice Shield, just super, super, super good. Really, really beautiful art. If you've read the One Punch Man manga, this is the same artist that did One Punch Man, and you can kind of see in this volume that yeah, sorry if that was like rude, Lloyd. I was just trying to kind of get things going. Yeah, you can see like the art really beautiful. It doesn't start off that strong, but like he really kind of finds his footing. So same beauty that you get in One Punch Man. Really understands like action paneling and visual metaphors. So, they'll have like some kind of like football kind of technique, and they'll do like a good example. It's like they throw a Hail Mary pass, and they have like this like cross kind of prayer statue, and it just really, really beautiful panels. If you have not read this, please read it. It is genuinely so good. It is one of my favorite series. The anime is so bad, and it just like if there was one series I could pick to get like another adaptation, it would be this one. This is also the author of Dr. Stone. If you like Dr. Stone, I think this is better. This is probably my favorite sports manga, although I don't think it is like the best sports manga, but it is my favorite for sure. Very, very good. Fairy Tail, I've read a bit of it. I don't really remember it that well, so it's probably unfair to evaluate it, but I like stopped reading it. So I'm just going to say like unsure for now, just because like I would want to give it a fresh opinion, but I remember not really thinking it was anything too interesting. Ooh. Oh, okay, this is the issue. Looks like there's like it's an issue of like files, I guess. Why is it not letting me show all of them? Okay, one sec. Because like it should keep going after I go past, but it's looping. So let me just quickly take out. OBS is being weird. Let me just quickly pop out some of the ones that are. What are you doing? Okay, Fire Force. Have not read it. I've heard it's good. Probably will read it eventually. It's like one I can read through Crunchyroll. Just gonna quickly adjust this. Fire Punch, another one I've heard is good. I've heard it's like a little weird. This is by the Chainsaw Man mangaka. Want to check that out. Fist of the North Star. It's another one I have not read. Kind of in a series of like. Yeah, I bet. Fist of the North Star I've heard is really excellent. Another one I want to read. Food Wars. This is just very whatever. There's some cool moments. I kind of felt like the pacing was bad. It just kind of, I don't know. I didn't think it was anything kind of special. I just didn't really enjoy it. I don't have too much to say. With regards to Fire Punch, I've heard that it seems a bit bleak, and I don't know, like I didn't love Chainsaw Man, but I liked what's it called, Goodbye Eri, or like Sayonara Eri, so I'll check it out. Fruits Basket. It's another one that I think we had a discussion earlier, about like series that are like just basically not judging something purely because like some things are not made for you. So I think that applies to this. Like, I am not a shoujo fan. That being said, I actually think like this is not that good of a series. I think the writing is not that great. There are other shoujo series that I don't really enjoy, but I think are like better. This one I think has some legitimate flaws. I think it like presents a lot of like toxic stuff in relationships. Not a huge fan. I've read most of it when I was younger. Fullmetal Alchemist. I mean, is anyone surprised this is an S? My wife read it for the first time recently. Really, really enjoyed it. I think it is just such a good series. I know like it's kind of maybe a bit overrated to some. I think it is very, very clear she knew exactly what story she wanted to tell. She told it from start to finish. There's almost no parts in the series that I found boring. It does not overstay its welcome. It is like kind of a start to finish good story. It's 27 volumes. I have the volumes behind me here, the like special Full Metal edition ones. It's great. If you have not read it, of course, check it out. The anime is also great. Like the Brotherhood anime is great. I feel like it is just, if there is ever a manga that I would say like check it out if you've never watched manga, it is probably this one. Even though I actually think like there are other series that are like better, I really, really do think it's amazing. Those editions are beautiful. I love it. Like Fullmetal Alchemist, like a 10 out of 10 series. That honestly is what S is to me. Even if they have some flaws, like they're 10s to me. Gantz or Gantz, or like I'm pretty sure it's Gantz. I actually don't know though. This is like a C+ to me. I honestly like found it kind of fun, but it sort of goes like off the rails pretty quickly. It's probably a bit too violent for me because I feel like the violence is like this is a thing I would say about Tarantino movies, where like the violence is like a feature, not really just something that like is just sort of necessary for the story. And I don't like not enjoy violent stories, but is it Gantz? Yeah. I don't know which one with the pronunciation, but yeah, it is. I just honestly like, it's kind of fun, but like it's just way too kind of like over the top at times. And I feel like more importantly, because like you can kind of ignore overly violent, overly sexual, overly whatever. It more just like the story just kind of like gets sort of lost somewhere, and I just kind of lost interest. Gintama, never read it. One thing that's really annoying about this series is that only like the first chunk of the series is published. So in English, so you know, if you wanted to read it, you'd have to read scanlations for this one. Kind of sucks. Goblin Slayer, I'm just not a fan of this. I found this has way too like edgy kind of content. I read about a couple volumes, so maybe it picks up, but I found it just like way too sexually violent. I just did not like the story. Yeah, honestly, man, like that, I don't see the appeal at all. God of High School, I've heard it's great. Golden Kamuy, I've heard is really good as well. This is one that I actually will probably read very soon. I've heard it's very good. You know, definitely one I probably will read before the year is over. Like Goblin Slayer is one of those ones where like people like it. It is just so not for me. All right, we're gonna talk about Pun Pun. Okay, so this is a series. I'll talk about the good. The art is very good. I think the artistic kind of exploration of like using Pun Pun as like this little bird thing is cool. There's times where it's like sort of jarring. Like there's times where Pun Pun will become very small, and it's hard to read, like because you're like, where even is Pun Pun? And it's obviously intentional, but it's a little annoying. But the art is very good. That being said, okay, like I know I'm gonna get some shit from some people. I think this is, if there is a series that has like an inflated rating, it is absolutely this one. I think this is a series that people hear is so amazing, and then they read it and they don't like it, and they go, well, it's supposed to be so amazing. Soul Linen is on here, and that one is going to be reviewed a lot more highly. I think this is one of the most bleak stories I've ever read, and people are like, oh yeah, but you know, like it's so meaningful. Honestly, as someone who's like had depression and stuff too, I think I just like hated it. Basically, I could not get through it. It was a fucking slog to get through. At first, I was like, this is kind of interesting, exploring some cool themes. And then like, I just find Pun Pun is so profoundly annoying. I found all the other characters are so profoundly annoying, and everyone defends it by saying like, yo, but like, you're not supposed to like it. It's deep. It's like blah, 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 blah. And you know what? I did not like it. I know people say it's good, and I can tell Edward Hill disagreeing with me, but like, if you like this series, more power to you. I can see why people like it. I can see the characters are written pretty well. What I think, like, I feel like I wanted to like this, and I just did not like it. If you guys love it, that's great. I personally think in terms of enjoyment, I did not like it. It was so much effort to finish. And I really just think it is like Pun Pun is a very like bad person, you know, like he's like sexually aggressive. He's like pathetic a lot of the time. Like, yeah, Synecdoche, New York. I don't actually know what that is, but yeah, it is. I just did not like it. If you guys love it, I know it's so popular. I wanted to love it. Lloyd, honestly, if you like, this is exactly like, not to call you out, but this is exactly the kind of shit that I knew I would get. Is like, well, you like Demon Slayer? It's not an A+, it's an A minus. But like, Pun Pun is always propped up as this like, oh yeah, it's so sophisticated, it's so good. You just like, you don't get it if you don't like it. I find stuff like this very frustrating. Just because I don't like Pun Pun doesn't mean like it's not good, but it's like I just find that incredibly pretentious. I mean, I really liked Soul Linen, so like I think like I think that's just an incredibly condescending thing, but I'm not gonna argue with my chat. I feel like saying people like one manga or the other, I feel like there's a fair amount of diversity in the list that I have, but not really worth defending. Whatever. Grand Blue Dreaming, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I found the humor, like everyone talks about it being so funny. I didn't find it that funny. I found like some of the stuff really cringe in terms of comedy. If you like this manga, that's fine. Like, I just didn't really like it. I didn't find it funny. I quickly dropped it. Maybe I should give it another shot. Let me know. It's like saying because you like fast food, you can't enjoy gourmet. Like, yeah, like I feel like there are stories, even that we've looked at so far, that have like some more depth and nuance. And I don't know, like, if you're reading it now and you're not liking it, it is not going to get better. That is my opinion. Type inference. Yeah, okay, GTO. This is an interesting title because I can totally see why people like this. Yeah, if you want a well-developed character study, I think Pun Pun is good. It's just like, I just really didn't like the characters at all. So GTO, this is a series that I think is a really good example of something that has like aged incredibly poorly. So the appeal, like for people who don't know, it's like kind of like delinquent teacher who's like got a heart of gold. And I think that premise really cool. And I think the character is like pretty cool. Where does this really struggle? It just like aged so badly. There's like, you know, like he's like kind of like a creep. Like he's just like, you know, really into like his teenage 15-year-old students. He's like looking up their skirts, you know, he's like doing stuff inappropriately. And there's a lot of like comments that are just like incredibly sexist or incredibly like inappropriate. Like, you know, his coworkers will say stuff like, "Hey, you should do X or Y to some underage girl," and it's like, "Oh my God, what am I reading?" So this is a series that has aged really, really terribly, I would say. I think if you like this series, I totally get why. I think this is like a clear C because it is just so dated. Ashita no Joe is not on here as I've not read it, and like there was a limit to how many series I could upload. Like there was like a 50 megabyte limit. Anyway, Gyo, or like Yo, I'm gonna get pronunciation wrong. This is, I didn't include like every Junji Ito title. I just like some of the more like standalone ones. I enjoyed this well enough. I thought it was like pretty good. Excuse me. Maybe like it probably would be B- if there was a B-. It's probably one of his weaker stories, but it at least has like a fairly coherent kind of start to finish. I think in general, like the Junji Ito thoughts that I have for the most part are basically that like he is so hit or miss. His good stories are fire and his bad stories are kind of like terrible. A big thing that Junji Ito is not very good at is writing like interesting characters, and he's much better at writing like interesting spectacle. Like it's more very often his stories, if you've never read any, are about like kind of strange things happening, and the story is more about the strange thing happening than about the characters it's happening to. And so because of that, it's totally built off the idea, and we have the Amigara Fault reference here that is coupled into this story. I have like it back there. Amigara Fault is, if you guys aren't familiar, it's that one that's like, this hole is made for me. The plot is basically like there's like a bunch of holes in this cliff face, and they later realize they are like shaped exactly like certain people. And basically like it is a great example of the peaks of Junji Ito, where it's like you have this really cool concept and you execute it in a cool way, and it's just creepy and different. And when he's not so good, it is like, it is rough, and when it is cool, it's awesome. I think the rest of it is like pretty fun. It's like not his best work, but it's decent. Haikyuu. I think this is like another like A or A+ for me. I know people love Haikyuu. I think like I think this is, to me, probably the best sports manga. I think it is the most accessible, even though it's not my favorite. Like I would choose Ice Shield over it. I have not yet read Remina Arcade or Kaider, but yeah, Haikyuu, really, really good series. Amazing character development. Even though it's fairly long, I don't feel like it overstays its welcome. Again, it feels like the pacing is fun. I'm very sad that they're going to be doing a movie or 2 movies instead of like a season or whatever the hell the thing is. I'm forgetting the exact details now. I think I have seen Ping Pong. I haven't read it. Ping Pong is on this list. I think Ping Pong is excellent. Spoiler, but like Haikyuu, I just think is like a very, very simple and good story with great characters. It is the definition of like what good sports manga is, and yeah, like I really like it. I feel like a lot of the stuff you've heard about it is probably true. Like it's just hype, it's touching, it has a fantastic ending, one of the best endings of like any manga series. I feel like it's very fulfilling. Yeah, I really liked it. Not too much to say. Hajime no Ippo, have not read it. I've heard it's amazing. It's very long, and it unfortunately is not published in English, which is a damn shame. So Slam Dunk is going to be coming up. We're going alphabetically, so if you guys want a preview of all the different series, here's a quick snapshot. Yeah, like Hajime no Ippo, I've heard it's so damn good. I'd love to read it. Sounds like it could be great. This is one of the, like, you know, we're talking about sports manga. This is a sports manga I haven't read. I've heard is amazing. It's very long. I wish it was in English. I don't like reading scanlations. I'm going to quickly blow my nose. I have a bit of a cold. Excuse me. Yeah, Ashita no Joe, I've also heard is very good. Yeah, so would definitely like to check it out. Hell's Paradise. I think this is like a it's probably in like a B. It's good. It's like just a solid shonen manga. Um, yeah, like not too much to say about it. I think it like does some cool stuff different from other series. I have not finished it. I got like pretty far in. Like I think it's like 13 volumes and I'm like volume 10. My sister-in-law has it. I should just check it out and finish it. Yashimon is not on here. Hellsing. I have not read it. I'm unsure if I want to read it. Hikaru no Go. Definitely let me know if you guys think I should check out Hellsing. Hikaru no Go. I think this is another like just like solid. Might go down here actually. Solid. Again, not ordered tiers. Hikaru no Go is just another like shonen formula. It's like I want to be the best at stuff. It's about a board game. You know, go read the rules if you aren't familiar with it. I think the story is pretty good. I think the ending is really terrible. I would love to know the context as to why the ending is so bad. It kind of is just like, it just sort of ends. It feels like they told the author, like, yo, you're out next week. Wrap it up. So that's really sad because I really enjoyed it. But I'd also like think because of that and like some issues I have with the series, I don't think it like deserves to be high. But it's also just, it is very textbook shonen. I like that formula. Doesn't mean I think it's like amazing. But, you know, like, so that's why it's kind of in that middle B, like, good series. I own it, for example. Like, I've reread it a couple times. Horimiya. I've heard that this series, like, it's definitely still worth reading. Honestly, even knowing the ending is kind of not so great, it is still, like, good. I don't actually know what Act Age is, so I don't have thoughts on it. Yeah, Horimiya. I've heard that this, like, goes downhill pretty quickly. My sister-in-law has some of the volumes. Okay. So, like, I don't think I'll read it, but I read a bit of the first volume. It looked kind of interesting. Hunter x Hunter. Nope. Okay. It's somewhere in here. So this used to be, like, S for me. And honestly, the more I've grown older, the more I feel like there's some big problems with it. My thoughts with Hunter x Hunter are like, I really do like the power system in Hunter x Hunter. I think it probably has the best kind of mechanics of the way powers work in the series. Nen is a very cool concept. It's very well articulated. But there's some big weaknesses in this series that I think people maybe, at least I don't hear it get talked about as much. For example, I think the early volumes are not that great. Like, it's not a very strong opening. Volume 1 is, like, decent, but it wasn't, like, crazy good. I think there's some weak arcs. I think the latest arc is not so good at all. But there's a lot of contextual problems there. Like, you know, his health is not so good. I think Greed Island is great. I didn't love the Chimera Ant arc, but I thought it was pretty good. I think the York New arc is great. I think the Hunter Exam arc is great. I think probably Greed Island is my favorite. I think it's a great series. It is absolutely worth reading. It is really good. It might even be like A. It's a tricky one because I feel like it's like one of those ones where like the highs are really good, but like honestly, I kind of just think it should have ended where the anime ended. I feel like the new arc is such a mess and it really weighs it down. Because the new arc has like so many new characters. It's very hard to keep track of. Some pages are just full of like walls of text. This is definitely a series I would recommend reading the official volumes of because they redo the drawings and later on the drawings are really not good. But yeah, this is a series that like it's popular for a reason and the peaks are very good. And I love Tagashi as a kind of mangaka. And honestly, I think he should just quit and like focus on his health. I don't like the fact that like this is kind of like he started the most ambitious arc. I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I think like it's a great series. It genuinely is good. I think I will honestly give it A because like the peaks are very good. Like it's somewhere like in here. Okay. I might rearrange it. It seemed like it skipped Inuyasha. So Inuyasha, I watched the anime. Inuyashiki, I have not read. I heard is very good. I've made the decision to split JoJo's up by part because I think it is just such a profoundly long series, and the parts do feel so distinct. And I haven't read all the parts. I've only read up to part 5. So so I guess, spoiler alert, we're putting these two in, or these three rather, in want to read. So JoJo, part 1 I read and I thought it was so awful. It was so profoundly awful, and I had heard it was so good, and I was like, you know what? I looked it up, and people were like, hey, push through. And I think if I actually reread it now, I would enjoy it more because I kind of know what to expect. But at the time, I was like, wow, I really do not enjoy this. I would probably put it in D. I thought it was just boring and I don't know. I did not like it. Part 2, it picks up a lot to me. I think it probably is still in honestly, I didn't think it was anything too crazy. I'd probably put it if there was a B-, I'd put it in B-. I think the thing about JoJo's is JoJo's, when you do them, when you read this series, is it is kind of stupid. It's very silly. It's fun. It's not super sophisticated. You just do well, I said not Ordered Within Tears because I kind of think maybe there should be a B-. If I were to do B-, should I do a B-? Yes or no? Because that's where this would go probably. It's definitely better than C+. Part 2, pretty decent. Better protagonist. Still kind of dated at this point. I think the Hamon or whoever it is nowhere near as interesting as Stan's. And I think I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan. So I thought this was fine. I was okay, it's starting to get a bit better. So yeah. Then why are we at part 4? Okay, we're having a little bit of issues once again with the display stuff. So I'm just gonna quickly take out some and see if that makes it work better. Did it? Okay, for some reason 3 is missing in this thing, even though it's definitely in there. Okay, part 3 is when it started to get kind of interesting for me. I feel like this is also probably B, which means this is probably C+. I feel like this was your standard 7 out of 10 shonen series. Okay, so Drill's saying it's very funny to me that he invented a power system with Hammond and then ditched it for the much better stands, and just no one cares about Hammond anymore. I think it's actually a very admirable thing to be hey, I'm a really creative guy and I could make something much more interesting if I had the freedom to be more creative. And so let's just make a new power system and screw this old breathing Hammond stuff. And I felt part 3 was pretty good. It's a little dated still. I think the characters are more interesting. I think Jotaro, I believe that is the protagonist's name, is a more interesting protagonist in some ways. I think it's cool that Joseph Joestar is still in there. I enjoyed it. Then we get to part 4. I think part 4 is good. I think part 4 is genuinely in that B+ range for me. I think it's Kira's a good villain. I do think it sort of sucks that Kira takes so long to be established. I again, this kind of continuity with all the protagonists. It feels like the powers are more creative. It's probably my favorite part. I also really like 5. Unfortunately, again, I've only read up to 5. It's a very long series. So I've heard that 7 is fire, right? But 4 was very good. I thought it was great. I really liked it. I think it's very funny. I love the fashion in the series. I like the art. I think there's still it gets to me it gets better as it gets less and less dated. It gets more interesting. I think there's some really cool characters. I think Rohan is a really cool character. I have the Rohan at the Louvre one shot. Yeah, it's really good. I like it. I think that's a great part. I would also put part 5 probably, nope, in the same tier. This is just to scare people. I think part 5 is really fun. The reason I dislike scanlations, Chad is asking, is preview for when we talk about Slam Dunk, is generally speaking, here's a good example, is the sentence might be something wow, he's such an aggressive person, like, you know, like what a badass thing to say, and then it gets translated to be like, bold statement that was, and you're like, people don't talk like that. Or they'll just have like random swearing a lot, or they'll just like not translate certain words. Like when I read Slam Dunk, which unfortunately does not have a digital version, and I don't own the volumes because they're out of print right now. So spoiler alert for Slam Dunk thoughts. Like he kept calling himself a tensei, which is like a genius. And it just was like, why did they choose not to translate this? Like there are just certain things where it's like the translations aren't very good, and sometimes translations matter a lot. That's like my short answer. With regards to JoJo Part 5, a lot of the stuff I would say with Part 4 applies. I have not yet finished it. I'm like really far in though. Like I probably only have like 30 or 40 chapters left. So yeah, you know, I'm seeing in chat that people are saying some groups are like better than official translations. I'd love to see kind of where that is, because like the scanlations I've read have been very like disappointing. And maybe the modern ones, like it wouldn't surprise me if like, yeah, like the Kikaku means plan stuff really applies for older scanlations, which are often what I've read. Because as I got older, I was able to like afford more manga. And so like if I would check out a series, I'd usually find it in print through the library or through the Shonen Jump app, or I would just straight up buy it. Like there's a really funny Prosy D skit that's like fan translation. I think it official subs versus fan subs. If you guys haven't seen this, this kind of sums up some of it. The scans suck so bad, like, but it's still worth reading IMO. But it's one of those things where like you read the scanlations and then you go like, maybe I would have liked it even more if it was an official one. Okay, so part 6, want to read. Part 7, want to read. Part 8, want to read. Again, it skipped over Jujutsu Kaisen for some reason. Who knows why? And I want to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen first. So, Jujutsu Kaisen. Is it like in the list here? No, it's just like not. Why is it not? Let's just see. I don't even see it. Okay. One sec. Really weird. Okay. I read 500 volumes of manga this year. Yeah, I'll explain why in a bit. Okay, I have no idea why it's not showing me this, but we'll just have to... We're doing Jujutsu Kaisen right now. So Jujutsu Kaisen is honestly like a better version of Bleach. This is what I've realized. So Jujutsu Kaisen, high lows, high highs, kind of low lows, but less low than Bleach. Really, really, really hype. Yeah, there is a reason why I've read so much. Like it has to do with health stuff. Like I think Jujutsu Kaisen has some of the coolest fights. As someone who's read like all 200 chapters, has some really genuinely very cool fights. I like the subject matter. I think this is a series that does characters very well. Like it also does power scaling very well. It's one of those series where like, you know, like classic example is Dragon Ball. By the time Dragon Ball is over, Goku and Vegeta are the only relevant characters, and really only Goku is. Whereas this is a series, Jujutsu Kaisen, where like Itadori is not the only relevant character. There's loads of good characters. I think I become very invested in the characters. I think it is good. I think, again, just kind of classic shonen. I'm clearly a fan of shonen. I probably give it like... The thing is like I liked the early part of it, but as it kept going, I was like, yo, like this is just like one fight after another, after another, after another. I probably would still give it like B+. But it's got some problems. Kaguya-sama, I'm unsure if I want to read it. Whoa. Because I read the first volume and wasn't a huge fan, but like I might check it out later. I just felt like it was kind of gimmicky. So if you guys think like the gimmick never gets better, then I probably shouldn't read it. Because like, what's the word? Like, what am I trying to say? I just felt that like, okay, we get it. Like these two characters like each other and they just like are trying to not like each other or like not admit like, so the gimmick gets better, people are saying. So maybe it's worth checking out. I did not enjoy the first couple volumes. Okay, Kaiju number 8 for some reason is skipped. I hate OBS sometimes. Okay, Kaiju number 8. It's just very good. It's fun. It's good so far. It has the benefit of only like 7 or 8 volumes being out, so it might like, and more than 7, probably like about like 9 volumes. I don't know. Kaiju number 8, a lot of fun. Classic shonen formula, kind of like Demon Slayer in that way. Nothing about it is like super kind of reinventing the wheel, but at least so far, I've enjoyed the pacing a lot. I think it's going to be a great anime. It's going to be very popular soon. Konichi Case Files. It is exactly the same as Case Closed. It is episodic. It is a lot of fun. Unfortunately, the first like 18 volumes are in English, and after that, the rest are you have to get through scanlations. If you want a mystery series and you don't like Case Closed, check this out. It's good. You get about like 1 volume per mystery. I really liked it as a kid. I read it recently. It's great. It's good. It's some of the most progressive romance I've ever seen in manga in a very long time. That is like cool to me, so I definitely will check it out. Kingdom, I've heard it's amazing. I definitely like. This is another one that's like there's no English translation. If you guys have a good recommendation for like a good translation of this, I would read it. Okay, Demon Slayer. I hate that I have to re-explain. If you want to see why Demon Slayer is so high, I will explain why. By the way, just as a general rule, because I think this is important, if you have only watched the anime of something, I do not think that generally reflects how the manga is. So if you've only watched the anime of Demon Slayer and you go, Demon Slayer is mid, like, I think you need to read the manga. I'm not saying the manga is like better or worse. I just think they are different, like, and especially in the case of Demon Slayer, like only the first chunk of Demon Slayer that's out right now is the part that I don't like. So, keep that in mind. Whereas like Jujutsu Kaisen, I really like Jujutsu Kaisen season 1, and I think it actually kind of gets like a little bit worse in the later chapters. So, yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts there. Kingdom I've heard is just amazing. I've just never read it. I like seinen manga in general. But the reason I like the Demon Slayer manga more than the anime is because I find anime in general is kind of paced sort of slow, and I like being able to read things at my own pace. I bet the anime is pretty good. It's more like the anime that exists right now is the part of Demon Slayer's story that I don't like. But the later seasons will be better. Komi Can't Communicate. This is a good example of a series that I think is like not made for me, and I didn't really enjoy that much, but I actually think is still good. I think the characters are pretty good. I think it's like fun. I'm gonna like make this a bit bigger because it seems like most of this is this size. Komi is just not really my thing. I one thing I do kind of like dislike about a lot of like manga romances is when you have like a good looking character that's a girl character and then like a really average kind of boring looking guy. It's just like, I don't know. Attack on Titan is, where is it? It's somewhere on here. I'm not, for some reason I'm not seeing it. Here is B. Season 1 though is a 10 for me. It just, the other seasons were kind of a little all over the place. Land of the Lustrous, have not seen too much. I've heard it's good. This is like Hoseki no Kuni, I think. Liar Game, same thing. I've heard it's good. I want to read it. Lovely Complex. I don't really have an interest in this. Heard it's good. Made in Abyss. I wanted to read this, and then I heard there's like a lot of like child nudity, and that definitely makes it go in the unsure category, if not like, not something I'd be that interested in. I've heard Liar Game is really good. This is called Maggie, right? It's not like Magi, right? I'm pretty sure. I've heard this is good. I want to read it. Maison Ikoku. This is a series my wife and I read the first volume of, and I thought it was decent, and she thought it was like terrible. I think it's like a little dated. I only read the first volume. I'd like to keep reading. I read the first 2 volumes, I guess. I think the first volume that's like on sale, there are these really beautiful like watercolor illustrations you can see here. It like picked up. I think it's like the volume and a half or 2 volumes. So that's how much I've read. I liked it well enough. March Came In Like a Lion. I think that's the name of this. Want to read it. Have not read it. There's this big chunk of stuff I have not read. Despite having read so much manga, there's still clearly a lot that I have not read or if I have read it, I've read like 2 volumes. I don't feel comfortable evaluating. Mashal. Okay, this is like a newer series. This is basically like, if you haven't read it, it's like One Punch Man meets Harry Potter. It starts off, I would say, reasonably strong, in that it's like, it's kind of gimmicky, but it's a fun gimmick. It's kind of a comedic manga. It's just to make you laugh. It's like nothing super serious. And then unfortunately, it just kind of like sticks with the gimmick and doesn't ever like grow from that. And like, so like the early volumes I would have given like, say, like a B, but then the later volumes are kind of like a C. Like it just sort of, I just like don't have a desire to keep reading. But there are genuinely some like laugh out loud moments in this manga, and if they can kind of like pick it back up, I read to about like chapter like 80, I think, or 70 or something like that. I might be down to keep reading. My Hero Academia. Okay, it skipped Mob Psycho, so we'll do Mob Psycho first. Okay, Mob Psycho the manga is probably in A. I think the anime is actually better. I don't know why my graphics are struggling with certain things, but I think Mob Psycho is to me like, excuse me, I'm gonna blow my nose again. Sorry, I have a cold. Is like genuinely a better version of One Punch Man to me. It takes the whole like super OP protagonist and it balances it with this like literal child who's like growing and learning and changing. And I really loved it. I think the manga, the pacing is quite slow at the beginning, so I think like it doesn't really deserve like an S, because initially I was kind of like a little bored. But then as it kept going, like I love Mob. I love Mob. I think he's like such a great character. I literally read this series and like it inspires me to be a better person, which sounds like kind of dramatic, but like I think if you've like read the series, like it really espouses like the values of the mangaka, which was basically just like, hey, like just because you have like special abilities or whatever, or you are special in some way, like doesn't really matter. Like you are just like an everyday person, and like we all just got to help out each other, and like, you know, no one is better than anyone else, you know, like it's just like I feel like Reagan is like a cool character. Mob is just like trying to make his life better, and he's like cares about other people, and it's just a really unique message in a story, and I freaking love it. The downside is that I think like the manga pacing is just a little slower, and I actually weirdly enough like the anime better. It might deserve A+, but this is a fantastic story. If you read it and you find it's a bit slow, keep pushing. I think it's amazing. I know the art is kind of weird, but like I like it a lot. I think it's great. Just great. It's too bad that I don't have the graphic for it for some reason. What the hell? I do have the graphic. It's just out of order. Okay, well that's Mob Psycho. It's amazing. My Hero Academia. Just like another like kind of like generically good shonen series. Like probably like a B. I think My Hero has like good characters. I like that it kind of solves power scaling a bit by like making all the characters still have to kind of like work together. The downside is I think like there are arcs that are like really slow. There are times where I was like, oh my god, like what's going on with this? I think the current arc is also like a little slow, although it's like wrapping up. So I think it's like one of those things where like the good is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's like this is the thing, like Jujutsu Kaisen or like Bleach, like the highs are like a 10 for me, where I'm just like, this is so hype, this is so fun, like crazy badass moments because you like the characters. With My Hero Academia, like the highs are like only ever hitting like say A, but there's less lows, but the lows are like kind of still like in that sort of C range. I think it does some things well and some things not so well. It's fun. I own all the volumes, like I've reread it. It's still good. I think, you know, it's just not like crazy good. Now we have Monster. This is speaking of crazy good, this is like a very, very good series. I don't think it's as good as 20th Century Boys, but it is fantastic. Naoki Urasawa is like my favorite mangaka by like a lot. I feel like everything I've read that he has written is amazing. It's pretty much like A or higher, or A minus or higher. It's just very good. Again, another series where like I don't want to give too much away. It's kind of like a murder mystery, but it's got that kind of like Catch Me If You Can energy where there's like a villain and a protagonist, and they're very like in opposition of each other. And there's kind of like always one person ahead of the other. It's excellent. It is so worth reading. I personally prefer 20th Century Boys more. It's great though. It really is like very good. I've reread it several times. The volumes are right there. It's amazing. Like, please read it. It is also like, I think a thing like a lot of people have experience with manga is they get exposed to like the older, like the younger shonen stories, and they like never expand beyond like the Naruto, the Bleach, the One Piece, etc. And they don't realize that they're like to me, like this is a better example of like a story you would want to show like an adult. Yeah, like Lloyd Irving, please check out other stuff. 20th Century Boys would be the next recommendation. They are all so good. If you like Monster, he's so consistent. If you want something shorter, just read Asadora because it's coming out. Both of them are so good. Like it is, I just cannot sing the praises enough of these manga. My Dress Up Darling. So I know, okay, we have Mushishi, but I have Dress Up Darling here first. Yeah, Pluto is short. Pluto is actually my least favorite probably that I've read of his, and it's still like an A. So that's, it's like still really good. Pluto's only 8 volumes. I haven't read Billy Bat because again, it's not translated in English. I will read it at some point though. I just tend to kind of, the reason I haven't read Master Keaton just because I don't own it yet. Like to explain why I generally haven't read as much online stuff is like I've been getting like really, really bad migraines. It's why I'm not really doing a lot of videos right now. I just have a lot of issues with screens lately. So what helps is like having hobbies that don't use screens. And if I physically own the manga, that is a way to do that. I can also use like e-readers, which although they're technically a screen, they're like very, very different. Okay. Yeah, I know. Pun and D. Just gotta hear me out. You can read the VOD. It just wasn't for me, man. But Solonin's gonna get a very good review. Anyway, My Dress Up Darling is E-Ink is goated. My Dress Up Darling. Honestly, as a person who like doesn't really dislike ecchi, I don't really enjoy this series for its ecchi stuff at all. It's not something that is like sexually exciting in any way to me. Although she's a very cute character, I actually just really like the story. I think this is like genuinely a very cute romance. I think the characters are interesting. It's one of those series like Dr. Stone is kind of like this, where like if you don't know about it, it's basically like this like kind of introverted guy who's like makes like these traditional Japanese dolls, meets this girl who's really into cosplaying, and she's like, yo, like you sew this stuff. Can you like make costumes for me? And he's like, I mean, I guess so. Like, I'll try it. And they just have a cute romance together. And like the characters are just good. It's just good. And obviously there, as I mentioned, there's like definitely like an ecchi element to it. A lot of people like the kind of like sexual side of it. Honestly, like I'm not saying I dislike that, but it's like that's like I genuinely, it's such a cliche to be like, I know there's a lot of sexual stuff, but I really like the story. But like in this case, yeah, like, you know, My Dress Up Darling perfectly captures the feelings of high school romance / first crush, first girlfriends type stuff. Yeah, I think this is a good example of like a series where like, I was saying this earlier, where I really don't like these romance stories where like, it's basically some faceless self-insert boring ass guy with this like beautiful girl. I don't like that. And I don't feel like that's what this is. I really enjoyed this series. I'm collecting it so far. My wife and I read it together. It's fun. I just think it's good. I think check it out. A lot of fun. Mushishi, I've watched the anime. I haven't read the series, so that's skipping it over. Nana, I rated this kind of low because I remembered it last time. Like I remembered it as a child not liking it. I reread it as an adult, and I liked it a lot. Unfortunately, it is on hiatus right now, but great art, really, really realistic characters. I think like the characters are very human. I think it's about like basically the plot is like two girls named Nana kind of like how their sort of lives collide. One is like what's it called? What am I trying to say? One is like kind of like more of like a cliche kind of girly girl who's like very boy crazy, and the other one is like kind of like more of a punk girl in a band. And like I was in a band in high school, so I kind of like related to that side of the story. It's great. I think it's like, it's nothing like insanely good to me. I also think it's not really made for me. So like the fact that I still kind of enjoyed it a lot is a great sign. I think the characters are good. I actually have not finished it. I was reading the physical volumes that my sister had. I didn't get all the way through, but it's great. It is unfortunately, as I see in chat, not coming off of a hiatus. But at least for me, like I still felt like what I was reading was satisfying. I think it's worth checking out. Very, very solid series. Okay, it's time. It's time. I just reread Naruto about a couple months ago. One of the other reasons I read so much manga is I've been flying so much. You know, I'll go to tournaments and I'll download on my iPad like a bunch of manga chapters and read them. And like this was one that I recently reread. So, Naruto, 72 volumes. I think you can roughly divide Naruto into a couple arcs, and those arcs are like the start, the Chunin exam, the like stuff after the Chunin exam, the Akatsuki arc, and then the war arc. The war arc is not good. It is like basically like 25 volumes or something, which is longer than Demon Slayer, and it is just one battle after the other. The end is very dumb. Is not good. It really, if we're looking at this series like overall, I think those like 25 volumes are just really weighing it down. If we were to treat it only as like the beginning to the Chunin exam, I'd go like pretty good. If we were treating it just to like the end of like Pain's arc, I'd say also like pretty good. I think there's some really big problems, and I don't want to spend too much time on Naruto, even though like I have a lot of thoughts on it. I think the major problem is Sasuke is like kind of a stupid character. His motivations are kind of dumb. When I was a kid, I really like kind of like related to the story. Not related, but I was like, I like this. And now I read it and think like, what is Sasuke doing, and why does everyone care so much about him? He's just like a shitty person, and we're supposed to kind of like feel bad for him because he has like, you know, like I don't know, like just like even like what I don't know. I don't want to spoil too much. Point is like, what I think this series does well is world building. I think it's like very cool. I think the early volumes are very strong. I think the characters are pretty good. What I think it struggles with is pacing for sure. I think it really clear that like he started without like there's a kind of duality in storytelling where it's like you either or like there's two types of storytelling approaches. There's like the gardener where they plant something and kind of see what grows, and then there's like the architect. I believe this is like I'm trying to remember whose framework this was for storytelling, but I've heard this before. An architect is more like a Fullmetal Alchemist, where you can tell that they're very, very clear about like what they want to tell the story about. I feel like with Naruto, that type of storytelling doesn't always pay off, and it really drags on. For this reason, I would probably give it a C+, which is so sad because some arcs are like A. I just think that like maybe B. I'm gonna give it B. It's got some high highs and it has some like trash lows. It is all over the place, and it has some really stupid moments. But if you're younger, I think this series is great. I think it's like not the most mature series, and that's okay. Like not every manga is made for adults. This is not a manga made for adults, so it's understandable that an adult wouldn't like it as much. Nausicaa. I have not read this. I've heard it's really good. I like Studio Ghibli a lot. Nisekoi. This is kind of a good example of like this like faceless generic character that has like a bunch of people who love him. I found there were some things I liked about it, but by and large, this is like a Romeo and Juliet harem story that is largely disappointing and kind of uninteresting, and I think it gets more credit than it deserves. No Game No Life. I'm not sure if I would want to read it. No Longer Human. This is another Junji Ito story that I think really exemplifies why Junji Ito is not like some of his weaknesses. I know some people really love this one. I have not heard of Jitsu wa Watashi wa. But yeah, I've not. I think this series is one like there's a couple versions of this, and I've only read the Junji Ito one. It's somewhere like behind me, like in between there. It's just like bad. He's not good at to me it's just bad. It's like he's not good at like building characters, I feel. He's much better at building like ideas, and so for that reason, I'd probably put it in D. It honestly, like, as a Junji Ito fan, like, clearly, like, I own like basically all the published Junji Ito stuff except for Ramina. It just, yeah, it's just not for me. Noragami, I've heard is good, have not read it. Okay, another heavy hitter. We're getting through. We're almost done. So, One Piece is one of the few series that I have not read all of that I feel very comfortable saying my opinion on. So I have read 45 volumes of One Piece, which is basically all of Haikyuu. It would be like 4 plus Chainsaw Man series. So like I have read enough fucking One Piece to talk about One Piece. And the thing about One Piece is One Piece, to me, I would never say it is bad, but it is a story that is built for people who kind of want one universe with a bunch of tales. And to me, I find it way too kind of like it's like a boat without a rudder. It kind of just sort of goes off. It's like if we were to plan a trip somewhere and I want to say like, hey guys, let's go. It's the end of the water arc roughly. I want to go somewhere. Let's go to, say, England, and we plan the trip and maybe we make some stops along the way. That's like where a lot of series do it. This is the kind of series that says like, yo, we're going to figure it out, but I know we want to explore these areas, but we'll figure it out. And some people love that, and I don't. I think this series is really just okay. I think I have read, and it's one of those series, there's like a comical story behind this, where basically like, everyone will always say like, oh, like when I was reading it, I'd be like, I'm just not like loving it. Like, I think it's good. Clearly I read 45 volumes, so I did not think it was bad. But I was like, you know, like I keep hearing like it gets so much better at this point. So I'm like, okay, well, like I'll read more. And then I would read more, and it like, I would just be the same. And people would always be like, yeah, but like it's, this one part is so good. And like, again, clearly this is a series that so many people love. And so like, I am not about to say like, this is bad. Clearly people love it. I am not one of those people. I do not think it was that good. I think it is way, way too long to me. And I think if there is one thing that I will be harsh with, it's that One Piece fans have like One Piece brain rot, where they basically will say to you like, oh yeah, that part's bad, but you just got to read 20 more volumes. And I'll be like, what? Or they'll even say like, oh yeah, but just read 10 more volumes. Or like, you got to read until volume 20 or volume 25 to really know if you like it. And it's like they don't realize like how much 20 volumes is, or 25 volumes, or 10 volumes. Like, Demon Slayer is like 23 volumes. If you tell me what you got to read 25 volumes to really get a feel for what One Piece is, well, that's like the like entire series for like Hikaru no Go, Demon Slayer, like Bakuman, like all these other, like it's shorter than an entire series. I mean, this is how One Piece people are, man. Like they're like literally like I saw someone reading, like made a manga video about like I'm reading One Piece for the first time, and people were like, yo, you got to at least read until X arc, and X arc is like so far forward. So I read the Water 7 arc. I did not think it was that good. I think that is just how a lot of One Piece fans talk. When they hear that people don't like it, they go, but wait a minute, you got to read X arc, and that arc is the good one. And I got to the Water 7 arc that a lot of people said is so good. And guess what? I didn't like it that much. And the reason I didn't like it is because Luffy is so profoundly annoying to me. He is so dumb, and he is like just a bad protagonist. And I think the themes One Piece explores is cool. And again, bad protagonist to me, I know people love this. I'm not going to say it's bad. I would never call One Piece bad. But I just think he's so frustrating for me to read. He's a person, like, it's very cliche for like a shonen protagonist to be kind of dumb. Like Goku's a good example, but Luffy is the only protagonist that feels like he actively makes his like his crewmates' lives worse a lot of the time. Like he will do things and be like, I'm just gonna do that, and it's like, yo, but like this kind of just sort of screws you kind of over. Yeah, I mean, again, like I should have stopped. Clearly, like I really wanted to give it a chance because it is like such a popular series. And I think like it does build the world well, but I just kind of feel like what is actually going on? Like what is happening? Like it's just like it just keeps going and going, and it feels like we're never progressing the story. We're just kind of like getting a new crewmate here, a new crewmate there, and some people love that, and I don't. I just don't enjoy it that much. Oh, we still got lots left. There's still a couple really good ones. So yeah, One Punch Man. I think okay, why do we not see One Punch Man? Well, whatever. One Punch Man. Probably like a B+ for me. I think One Punch Man is very good. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a fun read. I think the art is so profoundly amazing. I'm talking about the manga, not the webcomic. Yusuke Murata is just like one of the best artists in manga right now. I think the series is a lot of fun. In general, I feel like Saitama is a weaker protagonist compared to Mob, and I feel like the Mob's Psycho story is a better version of this kind of formula. But One Punch Man is a lot of fun. It was a series I actually didn't really like initially, and then I reread it and liked it. So like give it a chance. Definitely at least read like 5 volumes or something if you kind of like it but not that much. I have not read the webcomic as well. Orange, have not read. I've heard it's good. Orochi. I just found this really dated and kind of like weird. Probably like, I don't know, if there was like a C-. It's probably in C. Didn't find it super interesting. One of the horror manga that like I just kind of dropped. I just found it was like very, yeah, I wasn't a huge fan. Parasite. Heard is good. Ouran High School Host Club as well. I've heard is good. Actually, no, I've read Ouran High School Host Club, but I haven't read enough. Like I don't remember it. Ping Pong. So the thing about the F stuff is honestly like these are like the greatest manga of all time. There really shouldn't be a lot of Fs. You know, we're picking like I can give you F manga, like manga that are just bad, but they shouldn't really be in this list because we're covering a lot of like the very best manga ever. Like if I were to pick an F, it would probably be like this or like this, but even then, like they're not that bad. Like Dragon Ball Super, like I still own the volumes, but it's bad. Anyway, Ping Pong. I have only watched the anime. I've read a bit of the manga. It's only 2 volumes. Anime is fire. It's like great anime. Probably a 9 out of 10 to me. I've not read the manga. I don't think I would prefer the manga. I feel like the anime is so short that like I don't really need the manga, so I don't expect to read that. Pluto, another Urasawa series, another series that is going to get a great review. It's only 8 volumes. It is based off of a, what's it called, Astro Boy series, but it's told in this like murder mystery way. It's a lot of fun. It's a great read. What manga would I consider F that was not on this list? I think there's like a lot of like, we'll kind of search around after the list is done. And we'll see kind of some manga that like I haven't reviewed. Because there's a lot of stuff like that I just like did not think was good or thought was like weirdly like some manga has like some whack shit in it, right? Like it'll be like weirdly sexual or like inappropriate, and you'll think like, what the fuck is this? Then like the storyline is also bad. So yeah, Pluto, like not too much to say. It's great. Urasawa is amazing. Murder mystery story, robots. It's cool. S is probably 10. A+ is probably 9. A is probably like 8.5. A- is probably 8. B+ is probably 7.5. Which maybe like these, it's not a perfect rating out of 10, but definitely S is 10 to me. And I know I have more than a few 10s. I do have my manga list, so I'm gonna double check to make sure. Oh yeah, there's still one more, at least one more 10 we got coming up. I think just Pluto, great series. Prince of Tennis, kind of like a basic sports manga. Nothing too much to say here. It's fine. I've been reading it. I've been enjoying it. I don't think I'll own it. Siren. I have read the first volume, but like realistically, the first volume is only so much. Seems kind of interesting. Cool. Rama Half. This is a series I've enjoyed so far. I've only read like the first couple volumes, and I really liked it. So I'm gonna give it like a B+ right now because I have not read that much, but like I've liked what I've read. I've probably read about like 2 to 3 volumes. It's fun. It's like a fun little romance. It kind of like falls into some of the romantic comedy trappings, but I liked it. Fire Force. We're looping now. Okay, we'll like stupid image slideshows have their problems, right? So now we're gonna do, what do we got left? Rave Master. So we'll start at Rave Master. Where is Rave Master? Okay, for some reason it's like not. It's not in this little list of shit. Okay, so Rave Master, read it as a kid, pretty average. Not too much to say. Real, I have read the first 2 volumes. I thought it seemed very cool. I think like knowing the author, whose name is escaping me. I know his first name is Inoue. I'm sure it's good. I liked Slam Dunk. I liked Vagabond. But I've not really read enough to comment. Rurouni Kenshin. This is one that would get a special tier list because it would be put in like I don't believe in separating the art from artist if I have not read the series. I see no reason to read it. The author is like basically a pedophile. Or not basically. He like distributed child porn. So I'm just gonna add a row below and say or like mangaka sucks. Yeah, that's my thing. Sailor Moon. Pretty kind of average. I think very influential, iconic. A bit of a mess when you read it. You're kind of just it's just not that engaging. I think like influential, not built for me, made for children. Very influential. Sakamoto Days. I've heard it's good. Have not yet read it. Seraph of the End. I have read volume 1 and 2 and thought it was pretty freaking boring. Right now, I'm going to put it in D. If you know it gets better, let me know, because I did not enjoy what I read so far. Skipping over Sergeant Frog. Sergeant Frog is like pretty fun. Probably like another C. Yeah, I'll send the tier list. I've heard Sakamoto Days is a lot of fun. It's like one of those like more modern ones I wanted to include. Shaman King. I don't remember enjoying this as a kid. I read about 5 volumes. I did not like it as a child. I feel like if I did not like a shonen series as a child, it's kind of unlikely that I'd like it as an adult. So I'm going to put it low. But my memory on it isn't that fresh. Silent Voice. So I've only read volume 1 and watched the movie, and I did not like the movie. So I'm going to say not evaluating because, of course, the movie is not the manga, but it doesn't give me a lot of hope for the series. Yeah, I've read Seraph at the End the whole way through. I was on the verge of dropping it. Yeah. Okay, next one. Skip B to skipping Silver Spoon, which is an important one. Silver Spoon is, I think, really fantastic. I think like it is maybe an A. Great anime. Just a fantastic series. I just didn't really like the story or the characters for Silent Voice. I found like it was just kind of frustrating. I found like it felt a bit contrived and silly, and the fact that she kind of like falls for him felt like undeserved almost. I don't know. I just did not find it very engaging at all. It felt very like, I don't know. I'm not gonna harp on it too much. Like other people like it. I didn't like it. Yeah, Silver Spoon. If you've read Full Metal Alchemist, this is like a manga about a guy who goes to like an agricultural high school to kind of like figure out his life. If you like the way Full Metal Alchemist is written in terms of like world building and characters and stuff, it's a very different story. It is a very great story. It is very heartwarming, touching. It's one of those like coming of age stories that you read and you kind of like can reflect on with your own life, even as a 29-year-old. I think it's excellent. I think it's very underrated. And for a mangaka who is like as established in writing one of the greatest works of all time in Full Metal Alchemist, definitely check out Silver Spoon. And give it a real chance. Like it might seem at first like digital or physical in your opinion preference. Talking about for manga, I would prefer physical just because I like being able to hold the book. But there's obviously some benefits to thing. Skip Beat, it's probably not really for me. Just another famous shoujo. Slam Dunk. Okay. This is my like I don't like scanlations manga. So this is a manga that is in every way like kind of like your stereotypical sports manga done well. I feel like it is not as good. I feel like it is not as good as Haikyuu or Eyeshield, but those came later, and I think they improve upon some of the weaknesses. One thing that's really nice about this series, it is, as a manga, very fast-paced. It is very, very easy to read. There's not a lot of text. I just, like, blew through this, like, probably reading 5 to 6 volumes a day. I've heard that the anime, on the other hand, is incredibly slow-paced. So I have not personally checked it out. I think Slam Dunk is probably an A- for me. I'm honestly just going to put Jujutsu Kaisen as A-. I think it's just, like, the highs are so high for me. And, like, I don't actually think it's that good necessarily, but I still like it. A Slam Dunk is, like, is good. It's quite good. I don't know. Like, it's fun. It's just, like, a fun series. But the scanlation is so bad. Like, it's, like, I really feel like, in some ways, reading it, that, like, if I had a better translation, I might be much more into it. So it's really a shame that, like, the scanlation is so garbage. And they don't have any digital version right now. But if you want like a fun sports manga, if you liked Vagabond and want to see what the author has done as well, like this is the kind of original series. At one point it was like the most popular manga in Japan. I think basketball club registration went up something like 300% or 400%. In terms of one manga I want to read but haven't yet, out of all of these, because some of them I'm just gonna read, like the JoJo stuff, probably the one that I'm like the most interested in is probably Kingdom or Real. Like Real is another one where like I'm just gonna read it at some point. Nausicaa, another one that I'm just gonna read. It's not just like oh yeah, like I'd like to read it the way like Sakamoto Days is. It's like it will be read. I will read it. I'm very motivated to read it. Yeah. But yeah, Slam Dunk. It's a solid series. Not too much to say. Solanin. This is the first Inio Asano series that's going to get like a really good review. This is a one-shot, and it is probably an A-. It's like it's like a single volume series, probably like a volume and a half. It is basically a story about like very ordinary people kind of working through grief and tragedy. And did you say it's not a one shot? Like I feel like it's like this is the whole series. So even if it's not a one, like I feel like it is a one shot, even if it's like a volume and a half. Like isn't that a one shot still? You can like fit the whole thing in a single volume. I feel like that is a one shot. But my definition might be wrong. Yeah, but like, so does it have to be like exactly one volume? One shot is not a single chapter. What? No way. One shot is not a single chapter. It's a single volume at the very least. Like literally like Goodbye Eri or Sayonara Eri is a one shot. Okay, we're not gonna get into this. That doesn't matter. Technicality. Solanin, if it's a series, it's a series. If it's a one shot, it's a one shot. Who cares? It's a good story. I think the characters are really nice. It's way more hopeful and way less bleak than his other series. I think one of the things that I find with a lot of his works is you just read them and you feel bad. Just like Sayonara is a single chapter, but it's like a 200-page chapter. That is like not really a good comparison, I think. But anyway, yeah, so point is, Solanin is good. It's really good. Check it out. It might float between B or A-, but it's definitely solid. I liked it. I thought, like, I read it, closed my eyes, and was like, that was really sweet and touching and good. Okay, so it's not a one-shot. Solo Leveling. I've read one volume. Seems really generic power fantasy story. But, like, I kind of thought it was fun. We'll see if I end up checking it out. Soul Eater, I'm unsure if I'll read this. I've heard it's decent. Spy Family. Okay, there's another one that's like, I think people are gonna kind of be a little weird about, because I think like Spy Family is very in right now, and the anime is very popular. So I've read like about like 90 chapters of Spy Family, or 80 chapters. I'm up to date on Spy Family, and I honestly think it is fantastic. I think it is has one of the best first volumes to me that I've ever read. I read the first volume and was like, wow, this story is just really fresh and different and fun. I don't think it's like some deep artistic exploration of humanity. It's just like a really cute story. I think Anya is adorable. I think the plot is genuinely quite enjoyable. It's like one of the series in Shonen Jump that's just very different from a lot of the stuff that we have on this list. I like, yeah, 68 then, sure. 68, yeah, like clearly my approximation was pretty off. But yeah, like, so I've read 68 chapters of it, which is around like 10 volumes, 9.5 probably. And it's just really good. Like, I feel like this is one of those series where like people are afraid to say that it's good, because it's like kind of in vogue right now. It's like, you know, oh yeah, it's just like everyone's watched Spy Family, but like it's just, the manga is great, man. Like, it is genuinely good. I think the anime is good too. I have very little bad stuff to say about Spy Family. 68 chapters in, maybe 200 chapters or 150 chapters in or whatever, I'll be like, it kind of went downhill. But like around 9 to 10 volumes in, it is super great. I really, really like it. I honestly am tempted to give it like A plus even. It is like, I think I will give it A plus. I honestly think it's like, it's one of those things where I feel like people will be like, no, it's generic, whatever. I don't know. Not generic, but like, I think people like to hate on it. Dan, I actually have, but I've not checked it out. Let's hit up Promise Neverland. This is a series. By the way, Archider, definitely like at the end, you can give me a list of recommendations, because clearly you have a lot. Promise Neverland. Yeah, you know, this is a great series for your, like, Lloyd Irving saying, haven't read it, but my wife loves Spy Family. Honestly, I think it is like a very good, like, universal appeal series. I think it is one of those series that, like, some people are going to give it a 7 out of 10, but very rarely are you going to see those, like, lower reviews than that. It's just, like, pretty fun. Everyone I've seen that's checked it out, man, woman, etc., they all enjoy it. Like, so I think, like, I don't know. I really loved it. Promise Neverland. First volume I read, I was like, this is like kind of generic and fun, I guess. Like, I don't know if I'll keep reading. And then I did keep reading, and I was like pleasantly surprised. I think like you're reading it, it like had me wanting to keep reading. It was just a fun read. It, again, doesn't overstay its welcome. I love a series that is like 20 volumes, 30 volumes. I think that's like a good length. This is 20 volumes. You know, I got actually got it right here. And like, it's definitely worth reading. Check it out. Also, one of the things that's really nice about it is this is a series that, like, while I was reading it, I'm like, okay, it's good and it's fun and it keeps me turning the pages, but is it going to kind of grow? Is it going to tell something more than just kind of this very, like, not like episodic story, but like very kind of like formulaic-ish story? Like, you kind of felt like you could predict where it was going. And I think it did grow out of that. It did kind of expand it. Like, I think my thoughts on the ending were that the ending was pretty good. I was overall like pleased with it. I think like there's obviously ways it could go differently. But like ultimately, I think it grapples with interesting questions, and I'm glad that it does, because I feel like I would have been very disappointed if it was kind of just like, here's the story, and we're not going to really like think about the like what that says about the world, or like, it's hard to talk about without spoiling. But I honestly would give it probably a B plus. Yeah, it's like, it's absolutely worth reading. I will own this. I will reread it. It's a lot of fun. The Rising of the Shield Hero, I have not read, and I don't know if I'll end up checking it out. Someone let me know if it's good. Free Ren? I don't think so. Seven Deadly Sins. This is a series I just have not enjoyed at all. I read a decent amount of it. I just thought it was kind of boring, generic. I don't know. This is one I don't really understand the appeal. I really did not think it was anything special. Tokyo Ghoul. I think Tokyo Ghoul is like. I really do wish there was like a B minus. It's one of those ones where it was like, I liked reading Tokyo Ghoul. It was fun. It's probably not a series I would buy, but it was still worth owning. I feel like this should be lower. It should be C, actually. It should probably also be C. C plus to me is like, it's worth reading, but I would not buy it, I think. Except for JoJo's Part 2, just because I want to have the whole series. Yeah, I already put it down. I think it shouldn't be in C plus. Tokyo Ghoul like it'd be B minus if I did B. It's pretty good. I think like I've heard the anime is really bad. The manga's fun. It's good. Like it might even be in this like B. But when I look at like the other stuff in C, I feel like those are all comparable to me. It was worth reading. This is the cutoff for worth reading, I think. Yeah. I have not read this. I also Urusei Yatsura. Again, I liked some of the stuff that Rumiko Takahashi has done, so I'd like to check it out. I honestly think you're right. Like I should just put it in D. I did not think it was interesting at all. I felt like, what the fuck is this? Like, so I'll just put it in D. It's like it's in this range of just like, I'm not liking it. I'm not vibing with it. I just feel like it probably was better than some of these. It'd be in like a C minus. Okay, Tokyo Revengers have not read. I'm unsure if I'll read it. Let me know. Uzumaki. This is kind of like Junji Ito's like sort of most notable work. I see we also have Tomie here. For some reason, it didn't register that thing. Not sure why. So we'll do Tomie first. Tomie is like a collection of Tomie-based stories. Tomie is a character who's kind of like a cursed woman that's like very beautiful, and you like her lovers always end up killing her. It's actually a story I really enjoyed, or like the collection of stories. It does sort of get a bit boring the more you read them, just because they're like kind of all similar. But the ones that I read, I actually liked quite a bit. I thought it was just like, it's a good example of like, he's good at like concepts, you know, like this character's kind of fun, not in any emotional connecting way, but just like the concept. She like multiplies. And there's a lot of cool Tomie related stories that are good. Uzumaki, it's one of those series, just looking in the background. It's one of those series that's like, it's very creepy. It's probably the most like put together story he has. Like honestly, in terms of the peaks of Junji Ito's storytelling, it's more like he's one of those things where like a lot of his short stories, there'll be like random good short stories he has. Like Amigara Fault, which we talked about earlier, is a good example of that, where like it's just a good short series. And a lot of people like it. And like I feel like Uzumaki is like one that actually ties together all of them a bit better. For this reason, I think it is probably in... It's somewhere in between these. Maybe A minus? I'm gonna put Dress Up Darling in my A minus as well. I really like it. I think it's like just a lot of fun. Whereas these, I think I like it more than all these series. And all of these series are great. Vagabond, another kind of classic, one of like the big three of seinen stories. I think it's probably like, honestly, it's probably like B plus for me. It is genuinely very good. Does that mean that I loved it? Not really, but I think it's like it's kind of in this space, right? It's like fucking amazing art. Um, it's good story. It's unfortunately on hiatus, and I really do wish it was ended. It had ended, and I feel like that does hold it back. Um, it's really floating in between here. I think it's probably A minus, but I kind of feel like my gut is leaning towards A minus just because everyone else likes it so much, and maybe it's more accurate here. So I think I should trust my gut and say like it's just a good series. It's just very good. It's critically acclaimed for a reason. I was about to say, have we done Vinland Saga yet? Vampire Knight, not for me. I don't think. I think from what I read, it seemed like really bad, but and I think it's like bad even for shoujo, even though it's very popular. I did not like it. Vinland Saga. This is another A plus. This is not a 10. It's not finished yet. I think that's a big reason why it could go up to S. I started reading Vinland Saga and I thought this is good. This is like a solid like 8 to 10 series. And the more I read, the more impressed I was. This is another series like I own all the volumes. I will definitely reread it. I read it very recently. It's just so well written. It's just like there's like so much character development. It's like a historical fiction series. I think in general I kind of like historical fiction. It's just fantastic. I think there's a lot of like. I've actually read that some people say that this is a great series to introduce manga to. I would totally see that. It's great. It's you know what's great about it is that like it's a story that starts off in one way and then kind of changes in a very different way. And without spoiling anything, I feel like that change is a very human change. So like just in the same way that like people change, people have different values, they pursue different things. Vinland Saga reflects those changes in life. And I think there's some people who feel like they prefer one or the other side. I really liked both. I thought it really picked up the more I kept reading. And I'm really hoping it has a good ending because so far it's great. It is still slowly coming out. It's not finished. It's about like a chapter every month, I believe. Might even be slower than that. But we're getting there. It's 24 volumes right now. I really like it. I think it's great. It lived up to the hype. Witch Hat Atelier. This is another series I read very recently that I what's the word? Wasn't expecting to like as much as I did. I think this is a very, very beautiful manga. The art is like insane. Like it's probably an A minus. I'll show. Rarely have I showed art for series. I don't want to have any spoilers, but like the art is just so freaking nice looking. Like I'll image in a new tab so you guys can see better. Like it is just really, really beautiful art. Like really beautiful art. Like even the paneling is so creative. There's a whole video about the paneling that a YouTuber made that's like really nice. Very, very cool story. Very, very well developed world. Just a lot of fun. Not something I expected to read. Not something I loved by the first volume, but by the time I was done, I'm like really enjoying it. It's 9 volumes in. My wife owns the volumes. Did you ever read the epilogue to Vagabond? I've read all the Viz Big manga, so like my brother-in-law has the Vagabond book. So if it's in there, I've read it. If not, I probably have not read it. Wotakoi. This is like a kind of romance story. I think this is like not really made for me, but it was pretty fun. I give it like kind of a C. Again, worth reading. My wife recommended it to me. I actually have like I think one more volume to read, but it's good. The epilogue was released in an art edition. Honestly, like yeah, his art is insane. Like the Vagabond artist. I'm trying to think of his name. It's like I know his first name is Inoue. It's like Is it like Takahiko? Oops. Like I'm sure we'll get the thing. Yeah, Takahiko. So, yeah. So Wotakoi, not too much to say. If you like kind of romance, it's like a fun story. It's like romance with like nerdy people. Yeah, it's just pretty good. Triple X Holic, I think. I just feel like this is one of those ones that's like not super for me. I honestly don't think it was like that bad though. Probably in this like C plus range as well. I didn't finish it, but it was fine. Yakitate Japan. This is a series not a lot of people have read, so much so that it's once again glitching and not in there. Yakitate Japan is a manga about bread. It was like kind of the food manga before Food Wars. It's a lot of fun. It's got some pretty big problems. Honestly, I think like nearing the end, it's more close to C. I actually do own it. I think it's got some problems. It is worth reading. It's like more B minus. So Yokohama Shopping Log is, or Yokohama. I have not read. It is, the volume is literally in my bedroom right now. My wife has it. I definitely will read this. I just have not yet. Yakitate Japan is basically like, or Japan is like really, really funny. It's like purely funny. It's very, very formulaic though, to the point where it suffers a bit. But the thing that it like you say, it goes to ham. It's just like, it's crazy at times. Yona of the Dawn. This is like a more modern shoujo that I heard is pretty good. Definitely, if one of you guys have read it, like let me know. It's something I'd like to check out. And then we have the last 10 in our list. The last S. The last just incredible, amazing story. And that is Yotsuba. I don't really know exactly the pronunciation. But this manga is just so cute. And it is just a very easy read. You read it. It's adorable. It's fun. The art is amazing. It genuinely makes you laugh out loud repeatedly. It's one of my wife's favorite manga. She kind of was like, yo, you should check it out. And I loved it. I have no complaints. It's just honestly so funny. It is like one of those things where I feel like people look at it and they're like I feel like if you're kind of more in the like shonen, you're like a guy who loves Demon Slayer and Hunter x Hunter, you probably think, oh, this isn't the manga for me. Please check it out. Honestly, I feel like read a couple of volumes. Like that's all you need to know to see if you like it. If you find it just like funny, it's just like a really heartwarming, like soul enriching, nice read. And there's nothing I would change. I'm looking forward to the volumes coming out. It's still coming out insanely slowly. And the art is like very cute. Like we'll find some examples like there's just like really, really detailed panels. This is like really poor res, but like, you know what I mean? Like there's lots of stuff where it's like they're putting a lot of work into it. Not seeing a lot of like great examples, but yeah, it's a very wholesome story. It's like probably the best slice of life ever to me. I loved it. Your Lie in April. I want to read it. I've heard it's good. Yu-Gi-Oh! This is the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga right here. I have it right there. It's 7 volumes. It's before all the Duel Monsters stuff. It's a lot of fun. I think it's probably like in the C+ category. It's genuinely pretty good, and if you were a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! Growing up, you absolutely should read it. It is, pre-Duel Monsters Yu-Gi-Oh! Was wild. Abso-fucking-lutely. It is like Yami Yugi literally will just be like, we're playing a death game, and will kill people. He'll just like kill people all the time. It's very strange. It's a lot of fun. Honestly, like, you know what I think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just say B- for this entire category, because like most of these are B-. They're series that I think are like good, and like there doesn't need to be like, that's what I'm gonna do, because I look at all these and these are all like, they're good. So all of these are getting an upgrade, because it's just like, because I feel like I don't know. It's so tempting to put. I don't like when people go overkill with the tiers, but I think for this it's important to have some distinction. Yeah. Anyway, definitely check out Yu-Gi-Oh! 7 volumes. It's before all the. It's not about card games. It's about like games. So if you're like a board game fan, and then the very last series we're gonna do is a personal fave, and if there was ever anything that has some nostalgia bias, it's definitely this. I think Yu Yu Hakusho is a series that has a lot of problems. It's right behind me. It's like right there. It's the same mangaka as Hunter x Hunter. I would say X. I know it's Hunter x Hunter. I think honestly you can just DM me Archider. I'll find it. Especially if you can like recommend based on this taste, that would be even better. Yeah, so Yu Yu Hakusho is a series that like there are times, especially early on, that I think the writing is not super great. But the Dark Tournament arc is like iconic. I think it's very short, which is kind of nice. I think Yusuke as a protagonist is one of my favorite protagonists. And I recognize that like this is a bit of like nostalgia bias. I think like that being said, it is genuinely a very, very popular series for a reason. Yu Yu Hakusho is just great. Yeah, actually, like for people who don't know, the mangaka who made this and Hunter x Hunter is married to the author of Sailor Moon. Definitely a power couple. I think Yu Yu Hakusho is great. It's another series that kind of was like grounded in like the supernatural. I like ghosts and spirits and stuff, so he kind of like deals with like demons and that kind of thing in like a fresh way. I think other shonen series have come later that do kind of like the genre a bit better, but I really think that the characters do it for me. I like Kuwabara. I like Yusuke. I just love those guys. I like Hiei. I like Kurama. I just think I think the anime is good too, but it's very dated. Whereas I think the manga is not dated at all. Outside of like him being like a bit pervy, which I think like, you know, you probably wouldn't do nowadays. Like, you know, sometimes but like even then it's like nowhere near like GTO. So I really liked it. I love it. It's one of my faves. It would definitely be on like, I know like the Trash Taste guys do like their like 3x3. If I were to pick like my 3x3, it would probably be these four: Yu Yu Hakusho, Eye Shield 21, Mob Psycho. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe Spy Family 8, and then like something else. Maybe Vinland Saga. Be something like that. Just like, or something like earlier that just like changed me. But these are definitely like series I really love. And I think that's actually like the full. Well, yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying like that's kind of like where I get kind of introduced to it. In conclusion, happy man likes manga. I'm not totally sure what you mean by that, but I would like to hear like kind of people's series that they recommend from the ones I haven't read. And yeah, I don't know, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, what's like? Do you disagree? Do you agree? I have not read any of those drills, so I'll definitely put them on the list. I know people like Pun Pun. I think that's probably my hottest take. I just hated it, and like, you know, if you like it, that's cool too. Like that is the beauty of manga, is that there's so much great stuff out there. And like there's some things I recognize like I am partial to and partial against. So like I generally don't tend to enjoy shoujo. And I generally like shonen stuff, even if it's a bit formulaic. But I really would go to bat for these two tiers, the A plus and the S, and even the A. I think they're all like very good. So, Koopa Troopa, anything that like, you know, kind of you think you really like that I don't, or like that, you know, how would you describe your taste? Also, one thing that I wanted to talk about, because this is one of the reasons why I did this tier list on my main stream, is I'll see, because like as I mentioned earlier, I've been getting for like the last like 4 years, ever since my car accident, like really bad chronic migraines. Oh yeah, I'll for sure read Berserk. Like Berserk is literally just like, as my friend gets the deluxe volumes, I'm gonna read them, and if I end up liking the series once it's finished, or like closer in, like say 20, 30 volumes in, I might buy the deluxe volumes myself. Because I think they look badass, and I just don't have the space for them right now. But I really like what I read of Berserk so far, except for the first 3 volumes. But I think the next chunk was very, very good. And I'm curious to see where it goes next. But yeah, what I was going to say is getting a lot of migraines, so I haven't been doing much YouTube content, period. When I come back to doing more stuff, like, it's a bit tricky too, because like I've been doing these like millionaire shows, which I don't know if you guys have been watching, but like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, definitely a thing that I've been working on with Edwin Budding. So it's not like I've been doing no Melee content. It's just, it doesn't go on my channel. But I kind of want to do manga content on my channel. When I, again, went like, as well as Smash content, I wouldn't be switching. And I kind of was curious to see what other people think. Because I think at this point, like, I have read like a lot of manga. Like, I think my anime list is something like let's see, what does my anime list say in terms of how many volumes I've read? Okay, let's see. I have read 1.25k, so 1,250 mangas. So like mangas, wow, manga volumes, excuse me. Yeah, okay. iShield definitely has some fucked up stuff in it, and I think we just gotta roll with that. Or I don't actually think you should just roll with it. I think I'm kind of like letting that go, but like, unfortunately, iShield is like this weird like has some weird racist moments, unfortunately. Where they're basically just like, hey, this one black character, he's just too good because he's black. And it's like, you can't say that. Like, what the hell are you saying? And they're like, he's just such a good athlete. And how could we ever overcome that? And it's like, whew. But, and then I don't blame people for being like, yo, that's bad. It is bad. Full stop. It is bad. I think it's still a great manga, but like, that part is very silly. It's very problematic. They should not have written that. It's also just very like kind of funny because like the characters are just like, well, like there's like, they have like literally like it's so inappropriate that it becomes funny, but it isn't appropriate. And also, like, I should really not be commenting on this as a white person. So, like, it's so absurd. And again, you know, people who live in a fairly racially, like, homogenous society, not that diverse, probably don't have a lot of exposure to other people, and then write stuff like that. And you're like, hey, like, I don't think this is the most, like, insidious thing, but it is not acceptable, and you like just, what are you doing, man? So yeah, I think the training arc is cool. But anyway, yeah, like, I kind of wanted to make manga content, basically. I think like it's something I've always been passionate about. I've been reading manga for like since I was like 11. It's something I like clearly have read a lot of, and continue to read, and there's so much more that I will read. And I think, like, if that sounds like something you guys would like on top of my existing content, like, probably, like, reviews and video essays, just to sort of talk about, like, series I like, series I dislike, on top of the Melee stuff. So, yeah. I would not do my manga hauls. I don't find that content interesting. Like, it basically would be like the kind of stuff I do with like my Melee content, but like manga related. So like more like the opinion videos I've done, which like I've written more opinion videos than I've actually made. So like You know, if people enjoyed the case for custom stages, free melee explained, do tournaments actually measure skill? Those kind of things would be like, what if I did that? But for manga, like, that would be something I'd like to do. I would probably release it on the same channel and see what people think. Because some of these, like, I don't know, I'm very passionate about. I think, like, Mob Psycho would be a fun series to write about. Just some, especially, like, opinions that maybe, like, you don't hear as often. So, no, I'd still be RadarSSBM. My focus would still be Melee. It's just, like, I kind of feel like I have other interests, like everybody, right? And like, people probably don't know this, but, like, or maybe you guys know this, but, like, I have, like, a second channel that I made a while back called Radar Hearthstone, where I made videos about Battlegrounds and Hearthstone, and, like, one of the videos did very, very well. And, like, I made a whole separate channel for it, and then unfortunately I just, like, stopped playing Hearthstone, and also, like, couldn't really balance this plus my regular channel. And so, like, there's other games I like. I could make other game content, but the reason I don't do that is that I kind of, like, lose interest in certain games, or, like, I'll get really into them and then I kind of, like, fall off, and I don't want my thing to only be about one thing. Whereas Melee is a game I'm consistently interested in. Even though, like, sometimes I have, like, burnout periods where I don't play as much, I always still watch. So, you know, like, I know I can make other interesting content. I know I've had other types of content succeed. I just want to, but I think you go through the work, like this video would probably be worth like $500, but because my channel doesn't have enough subscribers, YouTube gets to keep all that money, which sucks. So I think if I were to make, like, videos on anime and manga, that would be something I'd love to do. And we'll do that. So, like, yeah, you know, like, let me know. I have, outside of Naoki Urasawa, who else would be your favorite mangaka? I mean, like, I think Togashi is an example of someone who, like, I liked Hunter x Hunter. I liked Yu Yu Hakusho. I've never read, like, the other one. It starts with, like, an E, level E, I think it's called. So, like, I don't know about that, but, like, those are two stories. I've really liked the vibe. I like the characters. It's hard to, like, just kind of pick people because, like a lot of people, like, they only have, like, one or two series I like. So it's like, would I say that Takahiko Inoue would be one? Like, I mean, I like Slam Dunk and I like Vagabond, but, you know, neither of those are, like, in my A+ tier. So I don't know. I definitely think I like Yusuke Murata's art, and I like, what is it, Richihiro Nagaki? I'm trying to remember the guy who wrote Eye Shield and Dr. Stone. I guarantee I'll like Real. It, like, the first two volumes I liked a lot. I just was like, I'll read this later. So, and, like, this is just, like, a tier list, right? But I could make actual, like well thought out videos. I used to, at one point, I almost freaking made a video about Attack on Titan and posted it on the channel. Like, I swear to God, I was, like, this close. I had, like, a script, and I was just like, it's not, my viewers will just be like, what the fuck is this? And so that was just because I was so heated after watching Attack on Titan season. I was just like, I was just salty. No, it was not the balls. It was more like it would have been so much work to put into something that, like, you know, most of my fans of the channel are like, hey, like, make Melee videos. Then if I spend, like, 100 hours making some fucking Attack on Titan essay, people will be like, bro, like, what are you doing? Whereas, like, right now, like, again, not really doing a lot of stuff on the computer for health reasons, but the little stuff that I do is still Melee related. Like, all the Millionaire stuff, we're doing another tournament. We're doing another Millionaire thing for, well, I don't want to confirm what we're doing next, but we're going to be doing more Millionaire. We've done it for Big House. We've done it for Shine. We did it for Battle of BC. And, of course, I want to do more commentary. One of the other things that like I believe, and this maybe sounds a bit harsh, is I think a lot of like a lot of manga content on YouTube, I think is bad. Like, I think it's made by people who are very different from me. Like, I kind of feel that like there's a certain kind of anime fan, that like I think is less likely to appeal to non-anime fans. Like their kind of opinions, like they're very grounded in like the anime world. Um, and I think as a, clearly a very big fan of manga, I feel uh I'm not like a weeb, and I think a lot of the like manga YouTubers are like weebs that like I don't know, like it's hard to, I don't know if I'm articulating, I know I'm not articulating this well, but like I think some people they just approach it from like a very, I don't know how to articulate it. I just think I could offer something different. Well, the thing is, I believe weeb is like someone who's obsessed with Japan, and I think Japan has like a bunch of problems and is not a place I'm like obsessed with in the slightest. But I am definitely obsessed with manga. I love manga. Um, um, it's not that I think they're insane. I just think like here's what I'm trying to say. A lot of manga YouTubers are like manga and anime fans making content for manga and anime fans, and I'd kind of like to make content for like non-manga fans, if that makes sense. That might be the way to word it. That like how like a lot of manga and anime is like kind of weird. Um, yeah, I will check that out. Daniel Green and Murphy Napier. Because like a lot of them, it just okay. Here's a good example. So like how you read manga and sometimes it just has like weird, or like watch anime and it just has weird shit. Like it's just fucking weird. Like it'll be like, oh yeah, like she's 12, but whatever, and you're like, what the fuck? Like that's the kind of like weird stuff I'm talking about. Or like the characters are just weird, or it's like very very cringe. And I feel like the person who doesn't think those things are so weird is like lost in the anime manga sauce, and they're just like they're out here retweeting hentai and shit like that. And like I think like some of the people that make manga content are those kinds of people, and I'm just like, yo, like I don't think that reflects the medium well. Does that make sense, guys, or am I weird? I'm not saying they're all like that. I just think some people like really yeah, exactly. Like they're not approaching it from like a normal fucking perspective. Like I feel like some like don't get me wrong, there are some anime that have like weird parts and you can still enjoy them and you go like, yo, that part was really weird. But I think some people are like, nah, man, that's normal. Like, I don't know, I thought it was fine. And you're like, what? Like, so I think this should be in B- as well. Now that this is B-, oh, I can't move stuff around. So yeah. Yeah, I really do think there's a lot of cool stuff to be said. So yeah, at me on Twitter if you make your own lists. I'd love to check out other people's lists. Uh, just for fun, I did make a list previously, that we can compare. Um, uh, so that's also like a little funny. This is my list. Hide the DMs. From 2021. Again, I've read like so much manga since then. So I like put like Yakitate Japan and exceptional. I would not say that. It's because I've reread it since then, whereas before I really liked it. Um, so some stuff that's consistent. It's nice to see like read this, read this, read this, read this. Wanted to read Fairy Tail. Okay, I've read Saint Young Men as well. That wasn't in the list. I read this. I read this. I read this. So yeah. I've read Kuroko as well. It's not on this list. Like, there's a couple I've read that aren't on this list. We were talking before about like, worst manga of all time. Let's just like let's look up like. Trying to see like something that I just thought was like terrible. Because like there aren't like any Fs. How do these two compare? Like these two lists, or what are these two things? Because like, yeah, I'm just looking at this. Like, I've also read Genshiken. I didn't add it to this, but Genshiken was fine. You can see like there's only so many you can fit in a freaking tier list. But like, I don't know. Yeah, so like how do my opinions change? I mean, like I definitely like see uh I see some of these series in a very different light. Like some of these things like Silver Spoon, uh it's like I kind of like developed tiers a bit. I don't feel like what I've liked has stayed the same. I think like the like archetypes of the stories have sort of stayed the same. You know, like, and like all of these series I still really like, but I think like with Jujutsu Kaisen I'd only read the first like 60 chapters, and I stand by that the first like 50 or so, like pre-Shibuya arc, post season 1 and including season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen, I think is really good. I really liked it. And then it gets kind of like a little messed up. So like I think that's like mostly the same. There are definitely some too where I was like I ranked Slam Dunk based on like reading 4 volumes or something, and now I've like it just happened that it was good. Gave Nisekoi a good review. I like re-watched a couple episodes rather than reading the manga and was like, this is so bad. So I read a bit of the manga and I was like, oh my god. So yeah, like I think my taste has changed a lot. So yeah, like, where did I put Berserk again? Yeah, this is literally like guy who read 4 volumes of Berserk. So we'll do this is, wait, I think it's called like my image or something, right? I saved it to here. What? Oh, that's what it is. It's to a different drive. No, I gotta post it. Um, um, yeah, I also am gonna hop off. That was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, at me on Twitter with your own takes if you end up doing it. I'd love to hear it. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you